When I'm talking about whiskey coming back, I'm not talking about the vPub coming back after the summer break. No, I'm rusty, a wee bit rusty, but that's okay. I'm not talking about vPub returning after the summer break. I'm talking about the way I'm feeling about whiskey right now, and that's a point of optimism. That's something to be excited about whiskey again. Yes, I'm recharged and I've had a nice break away from whiskey, and that's been good. It's been good for my approach to whiskey, the way I think about whiskey, the way I taste whiskey, everything. But it's also given me time to take in lots of metrics from lots of places and lots of people and lots of discussions and chats and experiences that I've had myself and realize that maybe, just maybe, after years of us fighting to find the value in the chaos, it feels like whiskey just might be coming back to us. I don't know if you feel the same optimism. I'm not just gonna share my opinion with you tonight, I'm gonna try and give you some examples. Listen, it's been too long. I'm excited, like I always am. I've missed you. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you all in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to the regular vPub programming. I talk about there being a break. I'm going to, in a few moments after I've welcomed everybody in, once everybody's settled and grabbed a bar stool, I'm going to take a minute to thank everybody that stepped forward during my own personal, this vPub summer break. People stepped forward to keep the doors open throughout the entire summer break this year. And that was an exceptional thing to do. It's wonderful trust, wonderful collaboration, a wonderful sense of community that exists within whiskey generally, but certainly we're able to harness that and develop that and work on it inside YouTube as well. And I'm very, very grateful to all the channels that step forward with some fantastic guests as well. More on that in a moment. But it has felt for me like I've been away a wee bit too long. And it wasn't really longer than some other years. But this year it was a bit different for me because I really tried to distance myself from whiskey, the goings on of whiskey, drinking whiskey, drinking too much whiskey, certainly, that type of thing, just taking a break from it and kind of recharging the batteries and getting the energy levels up again and the enthusiasm back. And I felt maybe that would have taken some effort this year, but I found it easy. And I think the reason I found it easy this year was to taking that deliberate break, absolutely, but also when I was connecting with whiskey, when I was touching whiskey again, there was so much positivity. People were excited about the discoveries. People were showing off things that they've discovered, things that they've found, prices they've uncovered. People were talking about different dynamics and how things are changing. Now, I have to caveat all of this. When I talk about positivity and optimism, I'm speaking very much about us as whiskey geeks, whiskey botherers, whiskey enthusiasts, customers, consumers, punters, whatever you want to call yourself. I'm speaking about the people that buy and agonize over the purchase every time. They get a thrill out of buying and tasting and enjoying and sharing single malt whiskies, world whiskies, blended whiskies, whatever type of grain whiskies. The people that love the flavour, that chase the flavour. That's where I think the optimism can be found right now. We'll talk a wee bit more about market dynamics and about us and customers and everything like that throughout tonight, but that's the general scope of things. And I put it to you that I'm going to try, for the theme for this year, is going to try to, optimistic like I always try to be, but to focus on the concepts and ways that I think whiskey is coming back to enthusiasts. Collector, selector, drinkers, flavour chasers, those type of people. Anyway, see what you think of that. I don't know if you agree, but whatever way you feel right now, let's see how you feel at the end of the session. And of course, it's going to have a lot to do with where you're based geographically. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to do what I always do, and I'm going to jump in to the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. If some of you are joining for the first time tonight, maybe you're watching this on the back of the recycled review that just went out. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching. Maybe you've watched both recycled reviews over the summer. I don't know how clever it was for me to release a recycled review right before the vPub, because some people are settling in to listen to me or listen to my voice for a long time tonight. I hope you've got something good in the glass to fortify you for such an activity. But it meant that I was able to follow through on my promise to you that I would get at least 1 or 2 recycled reviews out to you during the summer break. And we're still in summer, but the break's finished now. So I think I made it. I just got it under the line and no more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the recycled reviews. They're a bit longer than usual. And I think that's natural. If I was doing more recycled reviews, there would probably be a justification for me to get them over with quicker. But I feel like if I'm only doing them every now and again, you do a longer session and you can break it up into chunks as you wish, whatever. I find that there's a lot to talk about in whiskey, right? Anyway, how are all of you? Welcome, everyone. You're fantastic. Thank you all for your company this evening. I'm looking forward to working out how you've been getting on over the summer as well. I'll scroll back up a wee bit, and I'm trying to catch anybody that is trying to get my attention. Just type Aqvavitae or @Aqvavitae. It's terrible on a mobile. I know a mobile device is a bit clumsy. Most people are enjoying the chat on the keyboards and things. But if you're trying to get my attention, if you type Aqvavitae, it comes up orange. We've got a better chance of interacting with you. But let's go in, because we've had some people joining the barflies and things, celebrating being barflies and all of that stuff. Andrea McPherson has joined the barflies this evening. Andrea, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you for stepping forward and participating in the barflies. You and all the other barflies, that means you've joined the YouTube membership on this channel. You're all working together to make sure I never go to Google ever and ask for ads. Front-end ads, mid-roll ads, and closing out ads. There's no ads on Aqvavitae content. There might be some ads on some really old legacy stuff, but even the recycled reviews go out now with no ads on it. And that's because of the support from barflies. What do you get in return as well as not having to sit through ads? Well, you get the wee barfly loyalty badges, change colour over time automatically, of course, but you also get lots of channel-themed emoji, whiskey glasses and things that help you colour up the chat contextually as we talk about our whiskey stuff. Hopefully you get something from just knowing that you help to support the content. My main source of income, my main source of support, the thing that keeps everything going is not the YouTube memberships. It helps, but that is my superhero patrons. Even when I took that summer break, I only charge for content when I do content. I always worry that the patron support will drop, and it didn't. It stays strong as it does every year. And I take that as a fantastic metric that you guys are still invested in and in love with whiskey. Thank you to all my patrons. Fantastic stuff. Anyway, let's go on. Jimmy Legg, who's also a patron, is here. He's a barfly too, and he's bought me a very generous dram. I've missed all of you more this summer than I normally do. Even you, Mr. Duffy's saying, cheers, everyone. You've been in my mind too. All of you have been. But of course, you have as well, Jimmy. Hope Angie's doing well as well. Nice to welcome you back, my friend. It's good to have you in your regular bar stool. Donner Pass Whiskey, my friend Tim in the States as well, is saying, cheers, Roy. Hope you had a great summer break. I had a fantastic summer break, Tim. I really did. I enjoyed it. Mirko in Germany saying, good evening, Roy. Hope you had a great summer break. And Pedro in Brazil is saying, great to have the vPubs back. Mirko and Pedro both celebrating being members of the Barflies for 19 and 28 months. Whiskey Novice Jim, one of the superheroes that swung forward and helped us out during the summer break with 2 sessions, 2 pop-up vPubs from Jim. Good to have you back, sir. That chair's comfortable, but it's very much molded to your shape. Slant you. It would be interesting to get somebody to sit in this seat for maybe one session. I don't know, a wee surprise for people. See how that went down. It'd be good fun, maybe. Tom Freeney, celebrating being a member of the Barflies, saying your break sounds fantastic. Welcome back. Thank you, Tom. Des is in, celebrating being a member for 64 months. Des, thank you so much. He's saying a normal service resumes. Thank you, Des. It's nice to have you back. James in Sweden, Grainer Malt is saying welcome to the... Oh, sorry, he is not. He has joined the Aqvavitae Barflies, but I suspect you've already been a member, James, for some time. And Gary Field is celebrating being a member for 6 months, saying good to have you back, Roy. Good to have you here with us, Gary. Hillswood is saying, can I just mention that I spend a wee bit of time at the start of every vPub welcoming people in, because it takes a wee while for the kind of crowd to settle, for people to charge their glasses, to get comfy, get their setup, whether it's a laptop, a desktop, the telly, the phone, whatever. And I use that time while people are settling to welcome in the folk that are here. Bear with me. Hellswood is here. Good to see you, Helen. I hope you and Andy are doing well. And I wish you very all the best, getting back to full recovery and full health again, Helen. But she's saying good to have you back. Hello from Machrihanish. She's now a full Scottish resident right now. I wonder how many years in Machrihanish it's considered before you're a native. I don't think it'll happen in your generation, Helen. But I hope you have a fantastic time and you settle there quickly and comfortably. I wonder how the weather's been treating you. Dave Barnes is celebrating being a member for 39 months. Thank you for your support, Dave. Kilco, my friend from the States. Good to see you, Brian. He's saying it's nice to enjoy whiskey again. Here's to that, my friend. Here's to that. Some of us choose to take breaks, like me this summer. Some of us have breaks forced upon us, my friend. Hey, hugs to you, big guy, and I hope you're doing well. Cheers. Had to update the details, says James. Wonderful stuff. You've retained your pink barfly, my friend, in your 65-month membership. Wonderful to have your support. Arnie Tiger is in. Good to see you, Arnie. We have also missed you, Roy, during the summer. I've missed you too, Arnie. It's nice to welcome you back. Buddy MJ Rodden is here. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great summer. Whiskey has definitely had a holiday for me. Wine has been the focus, but as the nights draw in, a dram is poured. I hope you've got something in the glass tonight, whether it's wine or whiskey. I suspect tonight, MJ, you're going to be sipping whiskey. Sean Causer is here. Good to see you, Sean. He's saying, great to have you back, Roy Aqvavitae. Missed the vPub pals. I missed my vPub pals. Dram of fragrant drops, Campbelltown blend in the glass. Perfect summer sipper for you, Sean. I hope you're enjoying it. Wonderful. Just as it jumps there, I do apologise. Whiskey Mechanic. That's not Rob. I've been confusing Whiskey Mechanic with Rob Halford, who's also our Whiskey Mechanic, right? But no, different Whiskey Mechanic altogether. He's saying, evening, Roy, and it's good to have you in. Gene Kelly's saying, so glad to be back in the routine of the vPubs. We'll get back into the routine in the weeks ahead. Let's see if I'm a wee bit rusty tonight, Gene, right? Kilco is saying, cheers, Aqvavitae. And Gerben in the Netherlands is saying, those videos were really good to get into the mood again. Thank you, Gerben. I hope you enjoyed them. I'm sure a lot of people are kind of going to go back when the chat isn't active alongside them and maybe take in wee bits and pieces again. But you can sense that some of the tone and the things that I'm speaking about in the recycled reviews are kind of leading forward to the theme of and the mood and the tone of the vPubs going forward, I would suggest. Greg's Whiskey Guide in Paris. Greg, good to see you. Hi, Roy and Aqvavitae. Been busy, so missed the recycled round 2, but we'll catch the replay this weekend. Slancha. Greg, I appreciate you catching it on the replay, my friend. That means a lot. Just checking to see how many months I had. Whiskey Novice is 65 months in. 3 trips in 10 months, says James DeGiulio. Need to get back. You're missing Scotland already. It just feels like you've just left, buddy. You're welcome back here anytime, James. It's good to see you, and I hope Gail's doing well as well. Finally done is celebrating being a member for 20 months and says, has summer gone so quick that we're already back? I kind of don't feel like that finally done this time around. Summer break is finally done. I kind of feel like that was a comfortable break, but I'm ready to get back at it. Oliver's here in Whiskey Veritas, evening Aqvavitae. Thanks for the recycled reviews. Just got my tickets for Leith. Hope to see you there. Fantastic. Listen, there's so much to share with you in terms of events and really cool things that's happening. Some of them imminently and some of them in the months ahead, and some of them like the Leith Independent Spirits Festival into next year. But like I always do, I'm going to make sure that patrons are prioritised. A couple of things happened over summer where I felt like if I'd been on the pulse, patrons would have heard about some things, but I'm putting in things to amend that, There's things in place, and our patrons will hear about it first. But if you're a barfly, if you're a regular watcher, if you're just tuning in casually, and you're interested in getting involved in some of the events, or you're interested in some of the things that's happening around the channel, just tuning in, I will keep you up to speed here too. Thank you, Oliver. I look forward to seeing you in March. Mel is saying good evening. Good to see you again. It's good to welcome you back, Mel. I hope you're doing very well. Peter Lee is in saying welcome back and well-deserved dram for you. Summer shenanigans has been great with David, Rolf, Alistair and Arnie. I hope you've had a great summer. I have had a great summer and hope you and Denise and the family have too, Peter. It's wonderful to have you in here. No need for you to ever buy my dram, buddy, but it's appreciated, my friend. Cheers to Peter Lee and everyone. Ben Whiskey with Molly, superstar Ben, is saying 1 month shy of 4 years. My goodness. My goodness. It's incredible. 47 months. Ben, thank you for your support. Whiskey Music, a member for 20 months, saying, love your voice, Roy. Very soothing. Please come and tell my family that this has been said, because they don't really enjoy my voice very, very much. Okay. Ian Bruce is here as well, saying, good evening, Roy. Welcome back, and hello to all the barflies. I think the chat's just jumped right down to the bottom, as it does. Sometimes you just touch the mouse or move it and the chat jumps. Anyway, I'll try and interact with you as much as I possibly can tonight. Welcome, everyone. It does feel good to be back again. Cheers. And now, how long are we in? My goodness, 16 minutes. Let's go on with some content. But before we do that, oh, Danny's just bought me a very generous dram. The vPub is back. Whiskey season officially starts tonight. vPub never went away, Danny, but thank you very much, my friend. He's bought me a generous dram as well. Danny, it's wonderful to have you. And it's wonderful to have you back on terra firma as well. Danny's spending a lot of time working offshore. Yes, the vPub I disappeared on the 10th of July, but the vPub continued. Can I just share with you some of this amazing stuff from these people that stepped in to make sure there was safe harbour, as I like to refer to it. A place to go, a place to hang out on the Thursdays while I was away and enjoying my summer break or trying to have some time away from whiskey. I finished the vPub for the summer break on the 10th of July, and then immediately a week after, on the 17th of July, up pops my friend and my peer channel, Jeff Whiskey, over at Jeff Whiskey. He stepped forward by inviting two fantastic guests. Ash from Whiskey Wars joined him, and Rob Halford from Dramface joined him as well, in order to bring a session talking about a concept that was born out of the vPub, the idea of a permashelf, but they focused, rather than a permashelf bottle, a permashelf distillery, a distillery that you are anxious not to be without, the distilleries that we grow to love. Fantastic session, still available for you to go and catch. It's evergreen content. Fantastic it is too. And then a week later, not for a single visit or during the summer break, stepped forward superstar Jim, Whiskey Novice. Our soothed, if we talk about a voice, Jim's got that lovely dulcet Northern Irish tones, right, as well as looking magnificently handsome as well. Guitars in the background, lit whiskey cabinets, the whole shooting match. But he brought us two sessions over the summer break. This one, he talked about something that's close to my heart. He talked about Diageo's flora and fauna range, which, I'll be honest with you, that was a topic that I'd considered doing a vPub on quite a few times in the past, but I've managed to shoehorn in flora and fauna content, in dribs and drabs here and there. Jim dedicated an entire session to that topic. Then following on from that, we had a really quite learned celebrity, a big hitting name stepping forward in the shape of Arthur Motley, and Dave Broom, the writer and author Dave Broom, stepping forward from the Liquid Antiquarian. If I talk about evergreen content that's worth going back and watching watching again, and then watching and listening again, the Liquid Antiquarian is that. The subtlety, the depth, the detail, the curiosity, the interest, the research, the sheer scale of what they're doing is unique in whiskey, and it's unique in YouTube. It's fantastic, and it's a privilege to have them there doing it. And it was a privilege to have them stepping forward to take in a Thursday night slot. They talked about the origin of the pub, which was fantastic. And then they talked about distillery disasters as well, with Alan Winchester as their special guest for that session. Cracking stuff. Then, at very, very short notice, I reached out to David down at Drinks Whiskey and asked if he would be interested in plugging a vPub gap that had appeared. He said yes. No problem. Not only did he step forward and bring some fantastic content talking about budget banger whiskies, but he managed to get a great ensemble of guests as well. He brought forward Mac from Campai Planet, Billy Abbott from the Whisky Exchange, and Pete from Woven Whisky. Fantastic session talking about something that's close to our hearts generally, affordable whisky. Well done, David. Thanks for doing so at short notice. Then we went back over to Northern Ireland for a second session with Jim, where this time he focused on something that he felt he had to get off his chest to talk about concepts that we as whisky enthusiasts, I think, often take for granted and don't really focus on what we're doing sometimes, and that's our senses. And he had this session called Senses and Sensibility. Cracking stuff, talking about how we look at whiskey, how we listen to whiskey, perhaps, how we nose whiskey, how we taste whiskey, all of that. And then that was followed up and closed out with the sixth gap with a session. And just think about this for a second before I move on. Phil from First Fill Whiskey is in New Zealand. He kept the regular vPub time slot at 10:15 UK time. And that's the crack of dawn in New Zealand, and he stepped forward to do the vPub session last week and give us some place to hang out and chat, despite particularly challenging circumstances, personal circumstances for Phil that he shared a little bit of on that night. Phil, thank you for your courage, for your trust and stepping forward. Thank you for opening the doors and looking after us. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Jim. Thanks to David, thanks to Dave Broom, thanks to Arthur, thanks to Pete, Jeff, sorry. Thanks to everyone. Thank you for your trust, and thank you for keeping the doors open over summer. It's very, very much appreciated. By me, sure, but it's hopefully appreciated by the community who needed someplace to go on a Thursday night. I hope it was good for you guys as well. Thanks to you all. Cheers. And your fantastic guests. Good stuff. Okay. What we're going to do now is I'm going to try to give you a bit of an overview of what I'm going to talk about tonight and where this has come from. Let's rewind back to somewhere in the order of 2018. I think there was a lot of us talking about prices creeping up. I think there was a lot of us talking about drop-offs in quality. I think a lot of us was complaining about a shift towards non-age statement, sometimes replacing age-stated products, that type of thing. But these were general kind of whiskey, slowly moving type dynamics. What happened that really upset things, I would suggest, is that when we took that kind of very, very strong, decent growth, and then we ran into the COVID pandemic in 2020. And for various reasons, because of we found ourselves furloughed, we found ourselves at home, we found ourselves not being able to go on holiday or spend money in ways that we would have traditionally. There was a bit more money available to a lot of us. Some of us were already into whiskey, some people fell into whiskey. But whiskey, after a few stutters and false starts and panics, suddenly took off. Now we can look back on that time and reflect that it artificially took off because, of course, our enthusiast community did swell and grow because a lot of people had a lot more spare time. And genuine people came into whiskey over COVID and were very, very grateful for that. But a lot of more kind of cynical, let's say people that were less interested in the flavour chase, less interested in the history, the production, the variety, the wonderful things that whiskey can bring to us as a community. They were maybe more interested in its collectability and its potential to maybe make money as something of an investment. So we had this huge thing that as a community, we had to come together and kind of fight through this chaos. We had to work together to figure out where the value was coming from and for all the stuff that we couldn't buy because it was in such high demand, where we could find alternatives, where there was new people stepping into the vacuums left by the disappearing of the legacy brands either up the luxury goods aisle, or perhaps the disappearance just because of pure demand. It wasn't available. There was this kind of vacuum, and other producers, other brands came in there, and the community got together to work out where the good stuff was coming from. But that was kind of almost a defensive, almost like an in spite of all of that type action that we were taking. What's happened in the last 2 years, I would say, and it's quickening in the last 6 months, is that now we are taking that same discernment, that same community activity, that same cohesive, collaborative outlook, but we are not trying to fight through that kind of chaos anymore. The chaos that we're faced with today is the opposite of what it was 2 years ago. Not everywhere, all the time. But now we have so much choice, so much availability, like we have never ever seen before, that things are having to change. Things are having to become a little bit more competitive, a little bit more thought about, a little bit more careful. There's a recipe that certain producers can follow in order to have a real good, strong shot at success. Some of them are choosing to do that. That's where I want to shine a light this evening, at least on a few examples, let's say. And I also want to call out one or two that are maybe still not getting the message. Over the course of the rest of the season this year, that's going to be the theme. So I'll share examples with you tonight, but I hope there's just so much good stuff to talk about that I hope throughout the rest of this year, and it's not to generate FOMO in anyone, but if you find yourself at a point where you need to make you want to make a purchasing decision and you want some guidance, come into our community. You don't need to just listen to me. Listen to the consensus in the community. Pick up on whether or not they agree or whether they disagree. Have a look at the other resources that's out there online in the online whiskey community, because they all tend to be very, very good these days, in my opinion. The stuff that's not so good doesn't seem to last. It doesn't seem to be able to stick or exist. People get a sense of when things are independent and when they're honest and when they're done earnestly. That theme will follow the vPub for the rest of this year, and I put it to you that I suggest that it's hopefully going to be easy for me to keep my optimism levels high. I think that whiskey is coming back to us. In 2025, things for the enthusiast, the consumer, the customer, the whiskey bother, or the geek, I think it's getting better. And I'm going to spend a bit of time tonight trying to prove the same to you. Not chatting, studying for the quiz, says James DeGiulio. I don't think there's going to be too much tonight that's going to be focusing on giving you clues for the quiz. There might be one or two, James, so fair play to you. Christoph is in and he's bought me a dram. Thank you very much, Christoph. He's saying, your break's over. Good to see you again. Hope you had a good holiday, Roy. Oh, he's saying, yeah, your break's over. Yeah, I'm actually okay with my break being over. I'm quite happy to be back. I've actually been looking forward to it, especially as it got closer to tonight. Good to have you in, Christoph, and thank you for the drama, friend. Cheers. Let's talk about the first thing that I want to mention, and I think we need to probably get the most obvious thing out of the way first. Let's talk about price, because it's been a real kind of thorn in my side for as long as the channel's been alive. Okay, the prices have been creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And you know, it's understandable when there's higher duties and higher energy costs, higher employment costs. There's lots of things that's come in, obstructions to trade like Brexit and tariffs and all of these things that's going to cost money to go over those barriers. There's lots of understandable things. But we know when they're just cynical nonsense, opportunistic, extortionate prices with no justification, just things that are put out there based on the concept of, if there are two things on a shelf and one is more expensive, that one must be better. If that's true, and we know that it is, that's the type of strategy that preys on the people who don't care about how much they're spending, or the people who don't care about what they're buying. So it preys on people that know a wee bit less. It's cynical, and I put it to you that for a lot of what you're doing, if you're charging more, you need to be better. If you're charging more, you need to look at the long-term strategy of what you're doing. I know that there's lots of business types out there that will argue with me about what's best for brand and building and all the rest of it. This is a consumable product that we can taste, and we can taste in contrast with other things. And if something's £100 in one hand and £50 in the other, and we taste it, we don't taste a difference in quality. Or sometimes we detect that the £50 one is every bit as good or sometimes better. That shows this expensive product in a very bad light. And pockets, bank accounts, a flavour map, they have long memories. And we remember that. It takes a lot to get that investment back from that customer that you've potentially lost. I think that people are trying now to focus on the area that they abandoned. And that was that wonderful mid-range sweet spot where things were not kind of stack 'em high, sell 'em cheap, supermarket style, volume whiskies, you know, the blends that have been done very, very well for decades. For people who just want a drink. Maybe they've got their favorite blended brand or something, but they're not really in it they're probably using it as a mixer base and all of these things. But the sweet spot I'm talking about for whiskey retail, especially malt whiskey, premium whiskey, tasty whiskey, these type of things, is in the UK between £35 to £40, up to about £60 to £65. That's the sweet spot range. And over the course of, I would say, the last 8 years, that's been largely left to become more and more of a vacuum by far too many brands. There have been some canny brands out there that were able to leave products in that space. But I was always nervous for a lot of it that the quality was not good enough to engage people and keep people into whiskey that would make them go back and buy a second bottle at that price band, or maybe consider upgrading a little bit to higher prices, 50, 55, 60, 65 pounds and above. There was just a dearth of choice in that range. And all through COVID, we were finding ourselves having to pay 75, 100 and north of £100 to get the better stuff. I think it's changing. Let's start with a wee bottle of whiskey. I've got something fantastic in the glass, actually. We're going to get to that a wee bit later. So much to share with you. There's so much to share with you. But I've got something fantastic in this wee bottle as well, and I need to show you what that is. Can I just plug that right now? Would that be okay to everyone? Just look at this. Just look at this for a second. This is a bottle of Ardnahoe single malt Scotch whisky. This is a sidestep and a digression from me because I realised I was so excited to share this. I realised that I hadn't spoken to you about this yet. Now look at the logos on this, please. Yes, that is a barfly there. This is a 6-year-old, fully first fill ex-bourbon Ardnahoe. This is just anybody that's heard the story of me tasting from that cask in the Ardnahoe warehouse back in 2022. This is what I've been trying to recreate ever since that moment. I've been trying to get my hands on. The closest has perhaps been the Fashil releases from Ardnahoe, but they disappear very quickly, don't they? The Infinite Loch is fantastic, a little bit of sherry in it. The Bolsa is fantastic, lots of sherry in it. The Society releases have been amazing. The absolute blinder that they pulled off with their 5-year-old inaugural, I was super confident that the liquid from Ardnahoe was rock solid. Me having the luxury of being able to put this together with the team at Hunter Lang and Ardnahoe has been nothing short of an absolute privilege. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. But I was fussy and I took longer than I should have. This should have been released before the summer break. Apologies for being late, but I pushed it and pushed it and pushed it, and I don't know why, but I was glad I did in the end, because the one that we found consensus on and we all fell in love with at the end was just that step better. This will come launching, we hope, from the 8th of September. Obviously, patrons will know about it first. And this time, we've really tried to make sure that there's enough bottles so that everyone's covered. This is small batch, it's not single cask. 3 barrels to put this together, which is why it was that extra layers of complexity to put together the product to make sure the barrels work together in the best possible way. Let me have a wee sip with you right now from a sample. I've not opened a bottle yet. This is a wee sample. It was bottled today, this very day. I'll put together a video. I shot some footage while I was at the bottling plant today to let everybody see behind the scenes. I'll do a wee video for patrons and share that with them just to kind of whet everyone's appetite, right? But I am so, so happy with how this has turned out. The nose is super smoky, but there's lots of tropical fruit. There's light, sweet, lemony citrus. There's butterscotch and toffee and caramel. There's also a kind of sense of a kind of creaminess or a butteriness. It's ridiculously well-rounded and mature for something of a 6-year age statement. The only thing that's been released by Ardnahoe that's older than this was the manager's dram that sold out instantly. That was a January distillation. This is a February distillation. So apart from that, this will be one of the oldest Ardnahoes released to date, and it's fabulous. Let's have a wee sip. Cheers, everyone. So happy with it. Thick arrival that I really, really wanted. The oiliness. I'd even go as far to say there's a butteriness to this. There's a little bit of white pepper. The smoke is there. The smoke is obvious. The smoke to me has always been a little bit like a Southern Island character. I know that some people say that Ardnahoe is a bit more integrated. I get that, but I think it's clearly a smoky Isle of whiskey. It goes on, the development goes on. You get some pastry and patisserie in there as well. The spices are there. The finish is fantastic. It hangs on the palate. That's got so much to do with the texture. What I'm going to do is uncork one of these on a patron-only lock-in, and it'll be probably just after the launch, and hopefully there'll be enough people to get their hands on it so that we can have a kind of almost like a wee mini global uncorking. There's 762 bottles of this. The idea being that hopefully some will make it out onto public sale. So obviously I'm going to look after the patrons that support me and things. It's the way I've always released the bottles and things. It's just the way it works best. And I'll continue to do that with this one. But with 762 bottles, that's the most we've ever released. I'm hoping that some gets to you. It's really worth seeking out. I'm so, so happy with it. I wasn't pessimistic, but I was anxious because when you're doing samples and things, it's not until you sip from the actual liquid that's bottled. David Hong has bought me a dram. Thank you very much, David. He's saying welcome back. Friend, good to see you. Good to see you as well, David. How are you keeping, my friend? It's nice to see you in. And Tobias Locus here as well, buying me a dram, saying, hi, Roy, good to see you back at the helm. Enjoyed the recycled review a lot. If you would do it every 3 months, I would not mind. Thank you, Tobias. I'll do the best I can. But that you're now asking me to drink 120 bottles of whiskey a year in order to keep that rate up. You might imagine how I could struggle with that return rate or whatever, but we do what we can, Tobias, yeah. Reb is saying, gimme, gimme, gimme. Rick Johnston is saying, will there be a bottle limit to purchase, Roy? I'm going to speak to Royal Mile Whiskies about how best to manage that. I was going to suggest that we do a 2-bottle limit for patrons, but what I might do is do a single bottle and then do another pass through patrons and see how it's going. The finer details, let's say, buddy, has still got to be nailed down with the retail partner, and the fulfillment of this and shipping it globally. You can go onto the Royal Mail Whiskies website, and there's a fantastic link you can a drop-down menu. Whatever state you're in the US, whatever country you're in, it'll tell you the shipping status and whether or not you can buy it from them easily. But they were getting things right over to New Zealand in a matter of a couple of days and things. It was fantastic. The service the Royal Mail Whiskies have done for me and us over the years has been wonderful. Alistair is saying, good evening, afternoon, everyone. Welcome back, Roy Aqvavitae. Good to have you in, Alistair. I hope you're keeping well, friend. My friend, it's nice to see you in here. And Greg is saying, will it be possible to get this bottling in EU, though? Do you know? Absolutely. Greg is saying, without crazy taxes. I can't control the taxes, buddy. Also, Royal Mail Whiskies doesn't ship to France, alas, but the Whisky Exchange does. Okay. So like I say, you need to go to the Royal Mile Whisky website to work out where it can ship to. I think something in my mind tells me that they had found a way to get past the France thing. Don't know if that's the case. Hopefully you can find some way for the Mule Network to kick in, Greg. Anyway, sorry for that digression. I just realised that I hadn't told you what was in the glass or anything. I was about to pour my first whiskey to talk about prices. And when I'm talking about prices, I'm talking about primary and secondary. Has anyone noticed the auction prices right now? If you can't find a Springbank 10, you can go onto an auction and you'll pay a wee bit more than retail, but nothing close to what you were being asked to pay a couple of 3 years back. 15-year-old, 18-year-old, a wee bit more you'll need to pay, but you can still get it. Even the 12 cask strength. So many of those things have come back into higher than retail, but reachable prices. If we really, really want the stuff, we can get a hold of it. But more on that a wee bit later. Let's talk about everything else that isn't Macallan or Springbank or something ancient and old and rare and unobtainium, something that's chased and sought after. Let's talk about the regular stuff that we enjoy as enthusiasts, the stuff that tends to sell out or maybe go discontinued, or something that's a single cask that we loved and we need to get back on. Have you looked on auction and secondary market auctions for those things? At my inbox, my messages are crammed with people picking up fantastic bargains right now. Prices that are cheaper than pre-pandemic prices. Glendronachs, Longmorns, some of the most sought after and chased kind of community favourites over the years are suddenly coming back to us. At auction, the auction has become something for enthusiasts, flavour chasers and drinkers again. Sure, they're going to be used to trade and flip, and especially the premium stuff that's chased, the Macallans of this world and things like that. But even those are struggling right now. Whisky Stats document came out recently, and there's quite a few reports that you can sign up and get sent into your mailbox for free. They come out periodically, and they're all saying the same thing, that there are very few whiskies holding their own right now. Now, that's bad for some people who have been trying to do some things with whiskey. Of course it is. But for people who just want to enjoy and share and drink the stuff, this is actually good. When I first got into whiskey, an auction was a place that you went to try some of these gems from the past, things that you couldn't easily pick up on retail. Auctions have become that again. The prices are as soft as I have ever seen them. And for enthusiast drinkers like we are, for people that just like to drink and share and taste and talk about the flavour of whiskey, that's a good place to be. Jesper Bach has joined the Barfly. Sorry, Jesper, I think I need to get your notification back. Yes, Jesper Bach joined the Aqvavitae Barflies. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your support. But the prices on the primary has also had to be shaken very, very hard in recent times. Diageo special releases, anyone? More than 50% off? It's going to be super interesting when the special releases drop in 2025, if they drop. Well, we've seen the labels and we've seen what's supposed to be coming, but I've not seen any prices. Personally, I haven't seen any prices yet. Maybe you have. But it's going to be nice to see. Have Diageo noticed that they've got this completely wrong? Or are they going to attenuate the prices and have some sane products to offer everyone? Casual whiskey fans, invested whiskey fans, geeks, enthusiasts, people like us. We used to look forward to the Diageo special releases, but I would say for probably about 8 years that's not been the case. Cynical prices. We knew every year after year after year the price would just be automatically put up. And then bizarro, arbitrary, kind of throwing darts at a dartboard pricing coming out for ridiculous things that I touched upon in the last recycled review. It's not the only ones that's suffering from significant discounts and much sharper pricing. Let me give you an example. Here's a premium product that virtually never gets spoken about on the vPub. In the past, maybe one or two expressions, a 10-year-old and 11-year-old. I felt back then they were a bit pricey. And I felt that the positioning, I could feel that they were going for a luxury point in the market. Well, this one was launched as a non-age statement. They gave us some details about it, what age they felt was in the mix, but they weren't putting that in the packaging. And it was a mix of bourbon and sherry casks. And I got to try a sample or two of it. And I had friends, people that I trust, people like cousin Kevin, Let's Talk Whiskey Kevin, who is literally my cousin. And he also has the Let's Talk Whiskey YouTube channel. He's got a very good palate, and he recommended this to me. And I tried it, and I agreed with him, this is good, but it was £60. And I thought, no, nah, I'm not there yet. That £60 bottle of Bladnoch, I've just picked up at retail for £37.50. That's too cheap. That's too cheap. That proves Bladnoch got it wrong. The sweet spot for good quality whiskey, probably with a good age statement on it and natural presentation, is that sweet spot I'm talking about, between 40, 45, 60, 65 pounds, of that order. I think I'm going to need a knife for this one. I'll try using a pen. Maybe need to keep my fingernails a bit longer for this. But this one came out at £60, and that's too much. And now they're forced to sell it too cheap. Now, it's not available to everywhere all the time. The retail of this hasn't suddenly dropped down to £37.50. This is a special offer. This is a discount price. This is because the whiskey isn't moving, and they need to offer these cheap prices to get it moving. I would suggest to you, if the steady price of this was 42 quid, I think it would be just shifting. I don't know if that's even achievable or not. But this is Bladnoch's Vinaya, or Vinaya, I think it is. Vinaya. I should have done some research on how to pronounce that first. But it's a non-age statement, core range, entry-level product at 46.7% ABV and a mix of bourbon and sherry casks. Now, like I say, 60 quid. I thought it was a good whiskey. I didn't buy it. There's too many other things at 60 quid that had my attention. Now that it's down below 50, okay, 45, 42, 37.50, I had to pick it up. Now, I'm not saying that everywhere you go, you're going to be able to get it for that price, but suddenly it's at a price that I'm curious to at least give it a wee try. And I'm no different from any other consumer out there. I love to support my local independent specialist. A raft of the bottles that's going to follow tonight is from an independent specialist close to me, Good Spirits Company. But I'm the same as you guys. And when an offer lands in your inbox, you know, you're kind of tempted sometimes, especially when it's something that fills a wee gap in the shelf, or a gap in your curiosity exploration, let's say. Let's coat the glass nicely and see what we've got here with this one. It's a neck pour, of course, caveat it with the usual thing. This is not a review, it's a first reaction. Oh, Bladnoch's got a very distinctive nose. I seem to be sensitive to it tonight because I can pick it out. And it's ever so slightly leaning on a very slightly lactic edge to it. I don't think that you would pick it up unless you're sensitive to it. Some people get it in Bruichladdich. Some people get it in Daft Mills. Some people get it elsewhere. In this wee glass tonight, it's not off-putting in any way. It's like a creaminess. It's almost like a fondant. A sweet cream cheese, a cheesecake type thing. Cheesecake's a good way. So it's like a toffee cheesecake, a New York cheesecake, something like that. This is full of custard and pastry, fondant, vanilla fondant, butterscotch, maybe some figgy type dried fruits. Quite a complex wee nose for a non-age statement whiskey. Warming, gentle spice. Cheers, everyone. I've tried this in the past, but that's probably twice as good as I even remember it being. There's no edge to this. There's no youth. There's no jagginess. This is well put together, but there is a communicative vibrance to it. There's texture to this, and there's some detail. So you could sit with this. It's not just a soft thing. It's not linear. It's actually quite a nice little sip. Bear in mind, I'm sipping this right on the back of a fairly heavily peated Isla. So these types of notes I'm giving you are probably, there's a bit more contrast there. I said 42. This is a worthy 50 quid whiskey. It really is. It's good quality, well made, well put together. I don't necessarily care for the big, super heavy square cube type bottle or anything like that, or the kind of overly embellished, but that's important and enjoyable and pleasurable to some people. And it certainly fits quite nicely on shelves. It's very good for that. It's quite a compact thing. But if the whiskies taste good, we can get past all of these things that we may love or not love so much. I think I'm a wee bit taken aback by that. I'm surprised. I'll go further though, and I'll suggest to you that it really hammers home my first point. Whiskey of this quality for £37.50, that's insane. It's too cheap. It's what's been forced to shift stock through the retail market right now. Whether that goes back on the distillery owners, whether that goes back on Bladnoch or not, I'm not sure. Whether that's something that there's just much less margin or next to no margin available for the retailer, I really don't know. But for the punter, for us, this is £37.50, and that's a bargain. This is £50 worth of whiskey. It's not £60 worth of whiskey. 50 quid. And I think we would be quite happy paying it for it. It's actually surprisingly good. And that kind of creamy cheesecakey thing, I wonder if I'm getting a bit less now. I wonder if it's on the back of the peat. No, it seems to have dissipated a wee bit. Maybe I was just sensitive to it when I first kind of stuck my nose in. It's been really nice having a kind of recharged nose and palate again after my summer break. Maybe I was just a wee bit sensitive to it at first approach. Still got that custard note, fondant type thing, vanilla. Toffee caramel, you could easily see yourself finding a wee bit of salt in there as well, almost like it's a salted caramel thing. It's quite impressive. Credit where credit's due. That's a better whiskey than I remember. Kevin's right. That's a good bottle to have. For £37.50, it's a fantastic bottle to have. Could it not be somewhere in between? Could it not be somewhere in the fair zone, the sweet spot? It's the first example I'm going to share with you tonight where I think that prices are coming back to us. For over a year now, we've had Signatory's 100 proof series, 57.1% ABV right across the range, between £40 and £50. Some of them 9 years old, but most of them in double-digit age statements. Some of them into the teenage years. Fantastic variety, fantastic quality, fantastic value. Value. Sweet spot pricing has been flying off the shelves. When people talk about a downturn in whiskey and whiskey doldrums, it's because the selection is not good enough and priced fairly enough to make us add anything more to the stocks that we've already got at home. Signatory was able to bring out something that kind of supercharged that. And there's been lots of other products coming out, not identical, but in the same spirit, focusing on the best quality flavour at the best price. What have I been missing from you? Everyone, good to see everyone. Actually, I'm getting annoyed at really tall bottles that don't fit on shelves these days. I was really pleased to see things like Glen Scotia's Victoriana and things like that coming down in height a little bit. The Bimbers and the Daft Mills, Spey, and a few others are still frustratingly tall. But I get exactly what you're talking about. Now I need to go and yell at the kids playing on my lawn. Good to see you in, Chris. I hope you're doing well. Ian Bruce is saying, Roy, over your break, the 3 barflies you directly connected finally met up in Perth. Thanks for the vPub and your support in connecting Dave, Sam, and myself. That's amazing, Ian, to hear that. This is Western Australia, for goodness sake. That's wonderful. And I get feedback of that happening right across the planet. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in Europe. It's happening up and down the UK. It's happening in really, really far-flung places like Hong Kong, for crying out loud. It's amazing. It's amazing to have these wee anecdotes. It's nice when you meet up, and it's nice for me to hear that that's happening. Jimmy, like I was saying, people talk about a lot of things. They really should stay quiet. That's the thing. If you tune in here, and if it's a solo session and I don't have guests, there's not really anybody to encourage me to stay quiet, buddy, right? I think on first... nice shirt, Rick Johnston saying, I get the hint. It's a huge hint, Rick. I'm hearing you. Seb K is in hashtag Portugal, of course, Seb. One of the crowd that got together in Lisbon. Fantastic. You with David, you with Bruno, wasn't it? Yourself, and probably potentially others that I'm forgetting and feel really bad about right now. Gene Kelly is saying my local shop offering Bladnoch Vinaya at $47. But only if you buy 3 bottles. I won't buy 3 of anything except perhaps Springbank or Kilkerran. Well, that's interesting, and it's a bit silly too. Wouldn't it be better selling it at $50 to 3 different people? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a retailer, but it seems a bit odd, Gene. Having said that, $47 US, that's kind of similar price point to what I paid for it. It's a very good price. It's a bargain. I will argue, I think it's actually too cheap. It's better whiskey than £37.50 whiskey. Really quite nice, really quite nicely put together. Let's give you another example. Let's give you an example. Let's consider that sweet spot price band that I've been talking about, and let's talk about the recipe. The recipe to me is not difficult. If we talk about an effort and quality and getting the presentation right, surely all you have to do is give us an age statement if you can, and if you can't, at least give us some information into what's the whiskey's been put together. Maybe you've got a vintage. Maybe you've got an age statement. If the quality is good, is not as essential as it once was. We were sensitive to a lack of an age statement when we noticed a huge drop-off in quality. And a lot of the industry had to work really hard to bring back the concept of high quality without relying on an age statement. Thanks to fantastic things like Ardnahoe is a great example. A lot of the new distilleries, to be honest with you. An age statement is nice, though, if you can give us it, or at least give us some insight. Bottling strength. Give us a good bottling strength. This is malt whiskey we're talking about. And the better the bottling strength, the more texture, the more flavour, the more weight, the more impact, all of that. But it also means that you don't need to chill filter it. Please don't chill filter it. Please don't take things away. If you chill filter whiskey, you might tell us that we don't taste the difference, and you might be right, but we will taste the difference in terms of texture. We'll feel the difference. And like I say, 2 whiskies side by side, we might not be able to tell which one is chill filtered and which one is not. Neither of these whiskies I'm sipping tonight are chill filtered. But over the course of our journey, over 10 whiskies, 20 whiskies, 50 whiskies, we're drawn to the stuff that has more texture, more body, more flavour, perhaps a wee bit more natural colour too. All the things that chill filtration, especially aggressive chill filtration, risks removing from whiskey. If it's left in there, there's a better chance of a better experience. We know this from our experience. And finally, don't add colour. Don't add an emulsifier. Don't add fakery. Don't lie to us. The people out there that are chill about colour, I don't really mind the colour or not colour. Well, okay, that means that you don't care about celebrating the natural colour of whiskey then. This is gorgeous to me, this colour. And I can celebrate it because I know that it's natural. It's not been done to spec by adding something as hideous as caramel E150A. This is obvious these days. Surely. Follow that recipe. Don't do cheap. Do fair prices. This is starting to happen. Can I give you an example? I'm fortunate enough to be able to have tried what I'm just about to share with you now. If you see the colour of this tube, you'll know right away, but you can see the brand on it as well. This is a brand new flagship bottle from the Campbelltown distillery of Glen Scotia. This is their brand new 12-year-old whiskey. Now, if I can zoom in here a wee bit, it'll tell you tropical fruit and coastal spray, big 12-year age statement on there. There's been a gap in the Glen Scotia range for a long time. But there's also been a lot of investment happening at Glen Scotia, and they've now got the stocks where they feel confident to plug that gap. How about plugging it with something that's 12 years old, an all first fill bourbon? This is getting me excited now. Fantastic, tell me more. This is all first fill bourbon casks. I hope in the future that they shift a little bit and consider using some of the first fill bourbon again and making it refill casks. That would be good. But look at the ABV that we have here. Can I show you? Oh, 46% ABV. Now, this is encouraging because anything above 46, 45.7 of that order, you know, the fats and the oils, the long chain fatty acids, esters, everything that comes out of solution at low temperatures and cloud the whiskey, it doesn't happen as much at 46% and above. Lower ABVs, more profitable ABVs, where they sell you more water than whiskey, of course, they have to chill filter it to stop that clouding happen at lower temperature. Fine. What else does that do? Well, it removes what I was talking about there. It removes that mouthfeel, it removes that texture, it removes that experience. It affects, in my opinion, flavour as well. This is non-chill filtered. 46% doesn't guarantee that. Let's try and help. Let's have this focus on this. But they need to put it on the label. Look above the barcode there. If this focuses, I can tell you that that says non-chill filtered. And look at this. We've got all 4 boxes checked here. Natural colour. So we've got an age statement on here. We've got a bottling strength of 46%. We've got non-chill filtered and we've got natural colour. All 4 ABCDs are in check. Age statement, bottling strength, chill filtration and dye. No dye included, natural colour. Now, there's only 2 things left that this bottle has to do. And it has to be affordable. And it has to be tasty. Sorry, it has to be affordable. Yes, it has to taste good. There we go. It's not very often that we get a brand new core range flagship bottle released. But this plugs a gap in the Glen Scotia range, a gap that's been there for a long time. They've got the 40% stuff, Campbelltown Harbour, things like that. They've got the 2 pretty good double cask releases right now. They've got the kind of PX one, and then they've got the rum cask one that's getting followed up by a Bordeaux one, a red wine one as well. They're all 46% ABV, unchill filtered, no age statement. Rum is natural colour. The PX one is still, let's say they reserve the right to use colour. But the rumours are that is also moving to natural colour as well in the future. We keep our fingers crossed. But then from the double cask, it jumps significantly right up to the 15-year-old. So they've always had that big gap, a gap that was filled recently by a 10-year-old that, in my opinion, isn't worth you exploring. It's a 40% whiskey, and it was one that I think the target market for that would have been casual sippers through supermarkets and things. This is a different beast, a different animal. Can anyone, I wonder if you'll be able to see, anybody see just how thick that is? Look at that thing. It is completely stuck to the outside of the glass. It's so thick and oily. Good casks involved here. Good first fill ex-bourbon. Natural colour, lovely dark natural colour. Let's go, let's go. I've tried this before, but I just got a lovely floral hit of almost like a hairspray type note as well. I've just opened this thing, really kind of, you know, top note, floral, perfumey. And that's layered on top of what I had in the past, which we had this lovely kind of coastal element to it, but there's lots of toffee, vanilla, lots of a sweet, like Werther's Original. No, I'll go further than that. I'll even talk about like a toffee eclair. So you know those chewy toffees with the chocolate in the middle? This is more chocolatey than I can remember it being, but from previous nosings, super interesting, just the way the mood I'm in tonight, of course. Yeah, the kind of nice kind of floral note. Lots of bourbon notes on here. The vanilla, the caramel, and bags of citrus, sweet citrus. Like literally somebody's just crushed a sweet orange and you've had a blast of that kind of orange zest and juice. Oh, it's mouth-watering straight away. I'm literally salivating. Sorry, I know it's not a good thing to think about. It's not a good visual, but that's what it's doing. It's getting me. I'm ready for this thing. It's gorgeous on the nose. So it's nosing well. Does it taste well? Full, thick, clings, hangs around forever. Lovely warm spice as well. Sweet, a lot of sweetness here, but there's stuff coming here to offset that sweetness. There's the salt. There's the saltiness in it as well, almost like a salted peanut type thing, but a little bit of minerally salt. I don't think this is peated. There's no peat in this at all, but there is a wee savoury edge to this as it just kind of closes out at the finish. Going in for another sip. My goodness, this is so drinkable. This isn't complex like lots of little dots and sharp peaks. This is complex, like there's layers. There's like thick, gloopy layers of flavour. There's the kind of, on the finish on the way out, that kind of perfumey thing is there too. So there's this thick, gloopy arrival, almost like a dessert-like arrival. The toffee, things like that. Lots and lots of sweet orange oils, sweet citrus. So you got that fruit and the sweetness coming. And then it quite quickly shifts into that kind of, I think sipping this blind, there's a good chance that you would pick up on an almost coastal type character despite how thick and sweet this whiskey is. I think I'm going to almost finish this in about 3 sips. Presentation, putting the effort into the quality. This is perfect. Age statement, bottling strength, chill filtration, no colour added. Telling us on the bottle that that's the case. Fantastic. It knows it's good. It tastes great. I'm going to smash this bottle. I can tell. I'm just so excited to share this. Let everybody know that there's a new core range out there for everybody to get in a hold of. Here's the kicker. It's £45. It's perfect. It's perfect for retail. It's perfect for punters like us. It's perfect for casual whiskey sippers. It's perfect for bringing people into whiskey with that texture and that weight and that impact, that solidity, that robustness, the flavour that we're forgetting at 40% ABV. It's not really, it's just kind of whiskey flavoured. Don't tell me that 40%, it needs to be 40 to bring people in. Good quality whiskey does not need to be 40%. Good quality whiskey is good at 46% and approachable at 46. It's a myth, and it's all to do with profit. And malt whiskey doesn't want to be at 40%. It just doesn't want. This is perfect. This is perfect. Have you tried it? Seb K saying, often get salted caramel with my Glen Scotia, so this sounds great. This has amplified that experience. You're going to absolutely be unable to avoid that, Seb. Brian Storm is saying, did you copy my summer shopping list? 2 drams down and picked up both. And both superb with great value on offer. Brian, this is because my content is not just from my own head. My content is so based on the feedback from the community, from everyone's excitement, from everyone's discovery. I'm glad you're here supporting us. And both superb with great value on offer. Glen Scotia 12 is dangerously delicious. Look at this. I've got one wee sip left in that dram I poured. Dangerous is a good word. And I feel like I want to pour another. I've got other things to share with you tonight, so this is not good whiskey. This is fantastic whiskey and a fantastic concept. Some people, if you're sensitive to oak sweetness, first fill bourbon oak sweetness, you might be caught out by this. I'm not. I love that. I actively seek that out. Look at what I chased in my Ardnahoe, absolutely. But even people that are sensitive to it can objectively sit down and appreciate that this is a fantastic whiskey, a fantastic package, and it's just been put together brilliantly well. I'll admit to you now, this is the second bottle of this that I've opened. The rest of it was given away and shared, and that's fine. The people that I gave it to were loving it too. But in the days that it wasn't in the house and this was the only bottle in the house and I was saving it to open it with you, I was so tempted to go ahead and open it. That tells something of a tale, I think. The glass is dry. It's a good whiskey. It's an exciting whiskey. Whiskey's coming back to us. We've got an all-natural 12-year-old Glen Scotia for 45 quid. Glen Scotia can now hold its head up high and go toe-to-toe with its neighbours. The Kilkerran 12 at 46. The Springbank 10 at 46. Both of those are a wee bit pricier. We'll get onto that more in a wee bit. But this is a perfect recipe. I think it's worth your attention. Don't forget the lack of sherry influence. That's the best thing, Aqvavitae, says Jimmy Legg. You had me at gloopy, says Jeffrey Bangers. It's on my list. Overland Drams is saying a little bit of corn bourbon can give a lot of flavour to a little bit of malted barley. So it's interesting what you're saying. You're talking about what was in the cask previously there. You know, that it's an interesting thing. The bourbon casks, when they come over here these days, are pretty well drained. There is obviously some character and things still in the wood. Bourbon for me, ex-bourbon is mood dependent. I'm often going to chase other things, Madeira, Marsala, Sauterne, and especially sherry when I'm in the mood. But my default, my favourite remains bourbon. Is it hero whiskey tier? David is saying, I would suggest yes. They've kicked it out the park at 45 quid for 12-year-old in 2025. They've worked out the recipe. I think they've unlocked the secret. Adrian H is saying, yeah, I got the Glen Scotia 12 the next day delivery and loved it. Thought it had very West Coast vibes, salty lemons for me in the best way and amazing value. That's great to have the consensus, Adrian. Thank you so, so much. Carlos San Diego's bought me a dram. And he said, welcome back, Roy. You have been missed. Thursdays are back to normal again. Thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you for your kind words. And thank you for the dram, my friend. I've emptied that glass. I need to go back to one I poured previously. This is my Ardnahoe. Cheers to you, Carlos. Jimmy Legg has bought me a dram again. If there were only 4 distilleries on earth, I'd be happy with Springbank, Glengyle, Loch Lomond, and Brookladdy. I think I get where you're coming from. That kind of perma-shelf session from Jeff Whiskey, that would be interesting to you, Jimmy. I get exactly where you're coming from. I am the opposite from you, I think. I'd be frustrated. I would rather have less from more distilleries rather than more from less distilleries. Variety for me. Really, that's kind of where I lean. Overland Drams. Sorry, Chuck, I did pick that up, buddy. Good to have you in. Sebastian is here saying, I'm moving house in 2 weeks, and I've had many, many cases of whiskey needing to be shifted. Good problem to have. Another bottle may have just been added. Seb, I'll make a deal with you right now. You try that new Glen Scotia. You don't enjoy that new Glen Scotia. Take the neck out of it, take the shoulder out of it, whatever you have to do. I'll give you the money, and you can give me whatever's left in the bottle. Is that a good deal? It looks like Michael Henry's in tonight because Seb K is speaking to him, saying Aqvavitae Michael Henry have to really applaud Glen Scotia and Loch Lomond Group for bringing out their most recent expressions at such honest price points, and really hope this nudges others. Hello, Bladnoch et al. To change too. Good feedback, Seb. And Helen is saying definitely sending Andy to the distillery shop tomorrow. I hope it's at the distillery shop, Helen. Fantastic. Overland Drams, good on you, Aqvavitae. And Doodle Drams saying, I appreciate all you do, but this talk is dangerously testing my own bottle ban. So he's on a bottle ban right now. This is not limited. This is not going to run out tomorrow. This is a warm, cozy blanket of a core range that when you know you need something rock solid and affordable for yourself, or you want to make a recommendation to a friend that's something that they're not going to be phased by or worried about spending too much on, just say Glen Scotia 12 and the bright royal blue box and bottle. And it's going to be around as a core range product. Yeah, it might have different batches in the future and things, but they've started out best foot forward. Multi-Mission is saying, the ability to get excited about a whiskey for all the right reasons, it's contagious, Roy. Thank you. But it's not just about the flavour and the experience with it. It's about the fact that I'm getting excited about something that we can all connect with. We can all get our hands on. This I'm going to talk about and probably, if not the next topic. Michael Henry is here. Bourbon barrels are rinsed in the US before loading into the containers to ship here, so very little bourbon liquid left in them. Yeah, that's exactly what I understand. I know it's not the same for all casks all of the time, depending on the source and depending where it comes from, the provenance of the cask, but the bourbon supply chain is something that's very well versed. Michael, it's nice to have you in. I suspect that your hand is in the blue bottle I've just shared with everyone, and if I had any left in the glass, I would raise a glass to you to thank you for your efforts, because I know that there's Michael Henry DNA in this. And I want to say a very, very heartfelt thank you and say well done. Thank you for being in here as well. Cheers, Michael. It's nice that Michael Henry's in here. It's nice that Michael connects with us and all of that stuff. And I think it makes us want to be a bit more welcoming and warmer and friendlier and kinder to Michael and maybe the products that he makes. But we would be caught out very, very quickly if we embellished, if we told fibs, and we raved about things that were bang average or worse. So I don't. I'm looking for consensus. I'm looking for feedback from you and the community. Jimmy Leg is saying it helps that we've visited those 4 distilleries and I know they care about producing proper whiskey. Fantastic. And he's just used that very descriptor about the Aqvavitae Daftmill law. Wonderful stuff. I can't wait till you can get your face back in a dram as well, Helen. Okay, if we move on to the next one, this is going to be a very, very quick one because I want to talk about how this is driving the other dynamics to help whiskey come back to us, and that is availability. And when I talk about availability, I'm talking about the availability in retail and the availability that suddenly opened up to independent bottlers as well. All the taps were switched off for a long time because people were like, oh, we're sitting on stuff that's much more valuable than we thought because of that overheated, cynical investment, cask broker, nonsense, all the bad actors that came into whiskey. We could spot them a mile off as whiskey folk. There's a lot of naive people out there hearing that whiskey is the next best thing and just wanting to throw money at it. And they tried to make money right, left and centre. Listen, a lot of companies have been caught out, closed down. People are in prison over it now, and they probably deserve to be there too. But what that's meant is that this kind of sudden, they've had to leave, They've had to stop selling casks that didn't exist. They've had to stop selling casks that did exist that they didn't own, and they've been caught out for the most part. Be careful, there are still bad actors out there, but it's not what it was 2 or 3 years ago. That means that the taps have suddenly been switched on again. People are not holding on to those stocks. It's been realized that it's not really as valuable as they thought it was. Once the taps are switched on again, that devalues all of the kind of holding stocks that's available everywhere. And that hurts a lot of companies, especially companies, independent bottlers and other companies, investment companies and brokers and all of that, that purchased at a higher price. That's going to hurt. And not every company is going to survive the adjustment to today. That's the sad truth of it. But most will. And new ones will come along. And the ones that do survive, the new ones that come along, and the ones that's going to be available to us in the future are going to help us with our availability. And they're going to help us. Instead of paying £95 for that 13-year-old Ben Rinnes, we're going to be able to pick it up for 55 again. At a good strength ABV from a good cask, fully natural, delicious whiskey. The prices are attenuating again. We can't dress things up in nice packaging, sell it at a high price, and pretend that it's better than the thing, because the market that you're selling to is far too knowledgeable today in 2025. They smell it. They're going to expect to be able to taste it first. And at that point, you're exposed because they taste something that they can get elsewhere for 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds more, less. The availability is coming back to us. Now, let me get more specific than that. And this will annoy a lot of you because I'm in Glasgow. And for years, I've complained that I can't get a hold of the latest Kilkerran, the latest Springbank, the latest Longrow, all of those things, despite the fact that I'm pretty close to the source and I'm in the central belt of Scotland. Whiskey's coming back to us. This very week, after going out to friends, Peter Lee came up through and said, "Hey, I've got a bottle, I'll give it to you." And then it's not needed. I didn't need to panic. I did not go into my local retailer the day this was released, but I went in the day after, and it was on the shelf. Sorry about the tissue noise here. But I'm speaking about this, the latest and greatest, latest buzz to come out of Campbelltown. Springbank's homage to the old 100 proof series that they used to have. Listen, the old 100 proofs, there was various age statements, things like that. This is the 5-year-old. They also had a 10-year-old as well. They had a 12-year-old and things. 20 years ago, they had a 12-year-old. They had 2 different types of 100 proof as well. If I remember correctly, they had a 100 proof, American proof, so they had a 50% ABV release. And they also had a 57%, close enough to 57.1, 100 proof imperial proof release as well. This is an homage to that. This is the new Springbank 100 proof, 57.1% ABV, 100 proof meaning imperial proof here. And obviously this has been, the next greatest thing from Springbank. And okay, let's see. We've got a 50 quid bottle of whiskey, 48 pounds, 49 pounds, something of that order. 5 years old. So the Springbank 10 is coming in at about 55 pounds these days. This is a wee bit cheaper than it, half the age. But remember, it's considerably higher strength. This, to me, shows me that whiskey is coming back to us in 2 ways. Springbank have been struggling for a long time to increase capacity. Everybody wanted them to make more. But it takes a long time for them to do the incremental changes. And some of it are really quite impactful to the way Springbank make whiskey. So they have to be very careful. Remember that they malt all of their own barley, for example. But they have been increasing their capacity for the future. But when I talk about availability, I'm talking about the ability to at least have a few days to be able to pick up. It's not the type of product that doesn't even make the shelf as it has been in the past and in recent years. I think we're now seeing in certain markets, Springbank, you could never say it was languishing, but available to the drinker again. This is good because it takes the pressure off the people that were buying extra just to hoard it, just to get a backup. People like me who's saying, okay, there's a Springbank there, I should leave it for someone else, and I shouldn't panic, oh no, I will buy it because I don't know when I'm going to get another one. And that whole vibe around it, it just impacts all of the availability for everyone. Whereas now we're realizing, if I really want a Springbank, I'll pay 60, 65 for it on secondary and just get it. Or my pals are able to pick them up on their travels and their journeys, or suddenly it's available again. So we relax a little bit. But this is helping me relax about availability because they're now bringing out a 5-year-old and potentially jeopardizing future stocks to make their 10-year-old. Why? Because they've got more stocks for the future. They've been investing in warehousing, investing in casks, investing in production, and building up more because they realize the demand for their product. And that gives them the confidence to bring out a new product, 5 years old, age statement on there, 57.1% ABV, 100 proof. I've tried this whiskey, tried it a few times now. This is the first time I've owned and poured from my own bottle. Let's give it a minute. I like having a new nose. I like having this feels like I've regenerated my palate somewhat. I've wakened it up again, I think, just by taking a break. You put your nose over this, bang, Springbank. We're straight into Campbelltown. We don't know what it is. Where does it get that from? Is it how they make the whiskey? Is it how much of an antique distillery it is? And almost like we talk about it being a museum and things. Is it the floor malting? I suspect it's got so much to do with the floor malting. Even on the nose at 5 years old, there's a density there. It's exciting. Ian Williamson is saying, I just poured myself one alongside Aqvavitae. Cracking stuff. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Ian. Jean Kelly is saying, green with envy for the opportunity to lay hands on this Springbank 5. Sadly, when it arrives, if it arrives here, it'll be massively overpriced and more rare than hen's teeth. We need to push back on this nonsense. It's not Springbank that's demanding those prices, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in the States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, elsewhere. There's lots of people, opportunists in the supply chain, exporters, importers, agents, retailers, and they're just taking the mickey out of all of us, and they're taking the mickey out of Springbank. It's very difficult for Springbank, J&A Mitchell, to do anything about that, but we can get vocal about it. We can call them out. We can tag them on social media. Look how much they are ripping us off. Yes, in some markets, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than it is in its domestic source. Okay, the tax and everything else dependent. But when people are doubling and tripling the prices, cynically, just because they know that rich people will buy it anyway, call them out, shame them. Because there's always an alternative. There's always another place to go. Unless it's a state-controlled place, of course. Some people are still in that frustration. Hillswood is saying, was really surprised to see how long the 5-year-old and the 21-year-old especially stayed on the shelves. Aqvavitae definitely seems a changes in the wind. Now, that might have a lot to do with, Helen, the fact that you're down in Campbelltown and you're looking at the distillery. They look after themselves. They make sure they've got plenty of stock there for the people visiting, which is the right thing. And they charge fair prices at the distillery. You're lucky. Adrian H is saying, I tried the 100 proof at Whisky Fringe just after a tasting. The upcoming 12 cask strength bourbon, and in comparison, it was fairly hot and would probably need water for me. That's a fair comment, Adrian. But when you're comparing it to the 12 cask strength, a 5-year-old's 57.1% is probably going to need a wee bit of taming, right? Whiskey with Molly saying, I thought this was young and peppery and takes water really well. I think it needs the water. I've got water on hand, Ben, as I always do. Doodle Drum says, the 5-year gave me a lemon swizzle sweetie note I have never had in a Springbank before. Great fun. Right, let's dig in. Let's to see what these people are saying. Thank you for leading me with the pepper I'm getting from Ben and the lemon swizzle thing, the lemon confectionery I'm absolutely getting from Arnie. But there's also when I first nosed this and I talked about the density, it's almost like a thick sponge cake, like a Madeira loaf, a vanilla cake, something warm. And I know that I have an argument with some friends about some whiskies nose cool to me and some nose warm. It's nothing to do with the actual temperature of the liquid, it's just the aromas. This is a warm nose. This is a warm whiskey. It's not cool. Ardbeg has got a cool nose, for example. Anything with a menthol eucalyptus note, a mintiness, can be cool. And well, I think there's a wee bit of that in here. It's not, it's like this is like a sweet baked goods warmth. Lemon is prevalent, absolutely. Butter, buttery, creamy. And I think it does have a nose of youth about it. That makes perfect sense. It's 5 years old. Cheers, everyone. Let's have a sip neat. Loving my whiskey right now. It's that kind of reactivated, what's the word I'm looking for? Regenerated? Re-energized palate. I think you'd pick this up and you would absolutely place this as a single-digit whiskey. But you would have to concede that it doesn't fight you on the way down. This is 5-year-old deliciousness from Springbank in similar way that a 5-year-old might come from an Ardnahoe, or Ardnahoe, Ardnamurchan, a Lochlee, a Kingsbarns, any one of these new distilleries that have been very happy to bring you these core range release products. Decent presentation, decent quality, but at young ages. This is flavorful, high quality whiskey. Yes, there's youth about it. It's a little bit shouty, but it's, in fact, to some people, I can see how this would be their perfect style of whiskey. There's a creaminess and a butteriness. A creamy, buttery, you could get that type of character feedback from New Make even, but there is, that lemon is there, there's citrus there, there's sweetness there, there's sugar, nice and sugar, bit of white pepper, and it's just, I'm trying to go in and share details with you, but what I have to talk about is just the overall experience. This is big and full and round. This is like the uncouth teenager. And I know it's 5 years old. I'm not. It's just, imagine this being a teenager and the 10-year-old being a mature young adult. It's the best way to compare these two things. There's lots to enjoy about this at 5 years old. This is a brilliant whiskey for me to have on the shelf. I'm really glad to have it. It does. I think if I was to choose this between that and the 10, I would be picking up the 10. But I can see why this is going to be a success. I don't think it's going to replace, it's not going to be a core range. I think it will be a core range, but I don't think it's going to replace the 10 or anything like that in terms of popularity or whatever. But I think it makes sense for them to bring this out based on the depths of stocks that they currently have accessible down in Springbank. And suddenly there's something else available to spread the demand a little bit. This is helping the availability that I'm talking about. So what does that mean for all of you? Let me get to that next. Gabs Rams is saying, I remember that Springbank neck pour. Remember that that sip is a neck pour, I think he's saying. Absolutely, this is a neck pour. I've tried this a couple of times now, not from my own bottle, samples and tastings, and I've always enjoyed it each time. Andy's done half a bottle of this in less than a week. He definitely prepares this to the 10. I think it's probably right up Andy's street, right? Michael Cox, my God, I'm missing some things here. Apologies. Michael Cox has joined the Aqvavitae Barflies. Welcome, Michael. It's nice to have you. Thank you for your support, my friend. Stephen Wilson is here and he's bought me a dram. Thank you, Stephen. Aqvavitae with the next heat waves of summer behind us. With the heat wave, sorry, of summer behind us. And a chill in the air. It's nice to sit down with a dram and enjoy the vPub again. Yeah, it was a wee bit colder here today. We had a lot of rain. The air's a little bit colder as well. It's warm in the vPub right now, Stephen. But once I open the window a bit later, I'll get some of that nice cool air in. It's nice to have you back, buddy. I hope you're keeping well. Benny Fries is here. Good to have you, Benny. I hope you're keeping well, Roy. vPub, Barflies, perfect symbiosis. Welcome back, Roy. We'll catch the start on replay and enjoy the rest in the background. On mobile, yes, the chat is hard to follow on mobile. Cheers all. Benny, I tried it on the pop-up vPubs when I was on holiday. I was tuning in on my mobile. It was really difficult. Cast it to the TV to see if that would help. Not really the best thing to have. There's a keyboard. You've got a keyboard and you can interact with all the wonderful, the beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies in the chat. Good to have you, Benny, and thank you for your dram. Seb is saying, as part of the New Wave Distillery, it's great to see the behemoth of industry releases a whiskey at 5-year-old proudly say so explicitly on the label Aqvavitae. I agree with you, Seb. We know what it is anyway. You guys at Glasgow are very, very transparent in what you put out there. You put the distillation date, you put the bottling date on there. You don't try to hide anything, which is fantastic to see. And that's not, I don't think it's difficult to offer people. It might be easier for you because you're a wee bit smaller. Bigger companies might struggle with it in terms of culture and concepts and all of that stuff. Scale of stocks, logistics, whatever. But with a bit of effort is possible. And I think it should be done a bit more. Helen Williams says, that's me done. Fantastic to be back, Aqvavitae. Enjoy the rest of the evening and see you on the replay. Oh, sorry, Helen. Helen Williamson, that is. Almost got you mixed up with Helen Widdowson. Apologies, Helen. Thank you very much for joining tonight as well. I hope you and Ian are doing well, and it was nice to welcome you into the vPub tonight. Whiskey Weekend Dram is saying time to say good night. Have a great night all. Harold, good night, my friend. I know you're an hour ahead of us, buddy. It's nice to have you back. Sean Causer is saying, is the flavour profile of a younger 10-year-old or more standalone? I'd say it's a wee bit more standalone. There's a lot more kind of purity to this. It's a much cleaner, fresher thing. The 10-year-old is going to have a wee bit more of a kind of complexity and moodiness and width than this one, I would suggest. This is, I think it's 100% bourbon casks. I think the makeup of this is 100% bourbon. It doesn't say on the back label, I don't think. It doesn't, even though the font is really quite small. I've not got the right specs for that. Anyway, let's move on. Because if we take that forward and we talk about Springbank have tried to make more stock available to everyone. And now there is more stock available to everyone because there are less people beating each other up for the stock that's out there. They've added to their range a little bit. Some younger stock out there to take a bit of the pressure off as well. What does that mean? Maybe there's going to be more stock for them to extend their market. Maybe that means that accessibility becomes something of an option. So it's not just me here in Glasgow talking about this. This is me talking about sensible products that can help extend Scotch whisky's availability into markets right across the globe. Now, Springbank is an extreme example. Of course it is. But it's happening. Glasgow Distillery. Seb's in here tonight. If you ask Seb how many markets he's exporting to right now, I think he's exporting to more markets than he's ever done in the past. I think the less pressure there is on stocks closer to the source, the more markets they're able to export out to. The more markets they're able to get to, the more fun it is for everyone. The more chance people out there in Australia, whether it's Western Australia or whether it's the Eastern Australia, whether it's New Zealand or whether it's Asia, whether it's the States and Canada, and wherever you're tuning in from right across Europe, there's often the comments, well, we can't get that here. We can't get that here. Now I'm starting to have comments coming in saying, do you know what? It turned up here. This has just arrived. We've got the Ardnahoe inaugural, Roy. We've actually got some Springbank. It's pricey, but we can buy it. More and more feedback coming to say that people are getting a hold of the products. That's fantastic. I was also able to pick up on the same trip a Springbank 10. You might notice that my Springbank 10 disappeared in the last recycled review. So I'm glad to be able to replace my Springbank 10 and have another one on the shelf. I wasn't stressed about it. I knew another one would find me soon, but I suspect that you have now got double, triple, quadruple the chance to get your hands on a Springbank something than you did 2 years ago. You've got much more chance to get a hold of it. And it's the same for lots of other brands as well. Lots of other things that you've struggled to get a hold of. I'm going to keep that for something. If we talk about accessibility and we talk about global markets and sensible products, what we need, remember that vacuum I talked about, that space, that drinking price point, that thing to attract people in. This is £40, £35, £45. That really, really attractive retail price point. There is suddenly lots of focus on that. But here's the problem. We all know, as much as we like to celebrate and recommend and drink it, we all know that there are far too many out there that are affordable and attractively bottled, looking good. I'll just refer you back to the most popular top 10 bestseller whiskies and vPubs and things I've done in the past. So many of them are 40 and 43% ABV. That we know that the drinking experience, the enjoyment experience is half of what it could be. It's argued that that's how they can do it at 35, 40 and 45 pounds. Core range products, non-age statement, 10-year-old, 12-year-old products, lower ABV, but it's not, it's for pure profit. It's nothing to do with enjoyment or the quality of the whiskey. It's to do with business balance. That's what it is. It's natural, it makes sense, but we know better. There are now products coming out there that make a mockery of that. Yes, they are often from independents. Yes, they are often from smaller companies. Yes, they're often from producers who get it. But it's happening more and more and more. Let me give you an example. Eric Cunliffe has brought me a Dram 10. Sorry, Eric, let me pull it back. No, he said, climbing around the warehouse like a good whiskey monkey during the Springbank. Sorry, it's happened again. Let me pull that back. Eric, my friend, apologies. Climbing around the warehouse like a good whiskey monkey during the Springbank school made me happy to know we have plenty of stock for years to come. Welcome back, you handsome fella. Nice to have you back in as well. I'm sorry I kept clicking off the chat there and losing your comment, buddy. I'm a wee bit rusty, but it's nice to be back and it's nice to have you back, Eric. Thanks for joining us tonight. Cheers. Thompson Brothers have been bringing us fantastic range of good quality stuff. Lots of other independent producers out there have been doing the same thing. I think that they are stepping into the vacuum and showing a lot of the legacy producers, the mass market producers and things, where they're getting it wrong, because these are exciting things. What happens if an independent bottler like the Thompson Brothers collaborates with an independent retailer? The retailer knows exactly where the sweet spot is. They know exactly what their customers are after, and Thompson Brothers have the ability to provide that product. Here's an example here, and I want you to guess how much this costs. 48.5% ABV. This is a North Highland blended malt Scotch whisky. Now, a lot of the stock that's suddenly been made available, we talk about accessibility, a lot of it is sold under the idea that it's going to be used to build or make another product. So it's not always able to sell under the brand or the distillery that's produced that. Understandable. The people that are really careful about that tend to be Edringtons, Diageo these days a little bit. There's some that are really extreme like Glenfarclas and things like that. But generally speaking, we have to understand that what we're buying is a good quality malt rather than knowing exactly where the retailer is from. More on that to follow. So we don't really know where this North Highland blended malt is from. We suspect that it could be from a number of places. But I'll just give you a quick flash of the back there because Thompson Brothers and Good Spirits Company gives us a wee hint to where it could be from. Distilled in the North Highlands and blended in Dornoch, this 8-year-old blended malt is a tribute to the region's rich whisky heritage. There's another clue. A teaspooning marriage of carefully selected whisky from 2 North Island distilleries. It offers layered notes of orchard fruit, heather honey, gentle coastal minerality, and all balanced by soft oak and warming spice. Bottled without chill filtration and a natural colour, this whisky captures the essence of the Highlands, every drop bold, characterful, and unmistakably. This is 48.5% ABV version of this kind of value blue and white stripe. Now, I don't know how many bottles of this was made available. I think it's quite a decent outturn. This is batch 1, which suggests there might be more of it in the future. Let me ask you what you would pay for this. This is £36.50. That is where we have malt, good quality malt, drinking strength, drinking presentation, nosing and tasting presentation for decent blend prices. £36.50. The reason I'm holding this up to you tonight, this is a local producer, a local retailer, sorry, from the Thompson Brothers, so it's not going to get a lot. If the Good Spirits Company ships to you, fine, fantastic. It's not going to go very far, but you need to hear this. Accessibility. The stocks are now available. The taps have been turned back on somewhat, and not at the prices that they were previously being asked. Much more keen, much more realistic, much more reasonable, much more business-focused prices. Business for the producer, business for the independent bottler, for the intermediate, the broker, whoever it is, business for the retailer. That's the critical thing. Accessibility is there. Whiskey is coming back to us. Let's have a wee nose of this. Much lighter than what I've been enjoying so far tonight. This is the lightest. Imagine this is kind of an outdoor sensation to this whiskey. Very clean linen, outdoor, summer breeze. Clean linen is a great note for this, actually. Bright, fresh, pure. Light, soft touch citrus. Malty, biscuity. Really biscuity. Cheesecake base, digestive biscuit. Porridge, creamy oats. Cheers, everyone. Very reminiscent of that Glen Scotia in terms of the approachability, not in the same in character or shape or texture or anything, but just that idea, you know, as soon as you sip it, you're like, oh, okay, this is a drinker, this is a quaffable, drinkable, easy, approachable, accessible whiskey. This is the type of thing, if this was around when I was getting excited about and started to explore whiskey 20 years ago now, this is the type of thing that I suspect would have got me into this profile of whiskey much earlier than I got there. That clean, easy, pure, would I have been open to it? I don't know. But I do think that where I am in my journey now, looking at this whiskey, I do think this is a perfect place product to achieve another type of that accessibility thing. For people to come into whiskey and say, I need something that's good, I need something that's enjoyable, but I need it to be affordable. If you're asking them to spend 40, 45, 50, 60 pounds on a bottle of booze, it's really quite a stretch for them. If you've got something as niche as this for £36.50, this is the sweet spot. This is where it needs to be. And there's product out there that's delivering it. This is just one example. Whiskey is coming back to us. It's coming back to us on retail. It's coming back to us on availability from the producers. It's coming back to us on sensible pricing from indie. It's coming back to us on the secondary market. It's coming back to us And it's going to be available for more markets in the future as well because of all of these dynamics. There are some that still have not picked up the answer machine messages yet. There are some people that are just not reading the room. They're not listening to the feedback. They're not looking at what's actually exciting. I'm going to give you a couple of examples in a minute, and you won't be surprised that some of these examples I don't have on hand. Michael Cox has bought me a dram. I've got lots of great drams in tonight. Thank you all so much. Michael, thank you so much. Thanks, Roy, for your sharing. We all won from this. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for being here. I hope that there are some things, and I suspect, Michael, you're in the States, so a lot of things I'm going to be speaking about are going to feel quite distant to you. And when that happens, I would hope that you feel that the dynamics are not distant. It might take a while for the ripples of these changes to make it out to you, but they will get to you. Jean Kelly is saying, so thankful to be back in the vPub. There are so few places to spend time and money that consistently deliver such great times. I love you, Jean Kelly. That's really nice words to say. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Dave W. has bought me a dram as well. It looks like Australian dollars. He's not left a comment or anything like that, but Dave W., that's the first time I might have mentioned your name. Could that be true? Can't have that colour of barfly and I've not mentioned your name before. It can't be true. Jean Kelly, Michael Cox, and Dave W., thank you for your drams. Thank you so much. And kind words as well. So, some distilleries seem to be a little bit behind the curve. Maybe it's because the product development is a long thing and they've already decided the price at the start of the product development. By the time it gets out, it's out of touch and it's off tone and it goes out there at the wrong price and they've made a mess of it. I don't think that's the case. I think people can pivot and change quite quickly, even when they're halfway through a product development cycle or whatever. It doesn't take that long. It's whiskey, my goodness. We're not inventing new technology, right? However, I was really excited to see the news drop recently about the new Bunnahabhain 12-year-old cask strength. I've loved the Bunnahabhain 12-year-old cask strength. My favourite is that 2023 release. There wasn't a 2024 release, more on that in a second. And I was a less keen on the 2022 release. I was a bit kind of in the middle of the road. But the 2023 was a cracker. I always felt it was a wee bit expensive, at £85. The 12-year-old Bunnahabhain is £40, £45. Some places it's closer to 50, but it's always available on a deal here and there. So if the 12-year-old is that price and you make a cask strength version, how can it be almost double? Well, I was really upset when the news came out of the 2025 Bunnahabhain 12-year-old cask strength. There's 90 quid. Depending on where you pick up your Bunna 12, that's more than double. Sorry, that's too much. And you can't even argue anymore that you're going out and looking at your peers and seeing what they're charging in order to position your product. You feel like Bunnahabhain is worth more than it actually is. I put it to you, and this is just my gut on this. I put it to you, Bunnahabhain. You did very well in Online Scotch Whisky Awards. You won the best Scotch whisky with that 12-year-old cask strength, I suspect, on the strength of that 2023 release. But in 2024, when you won that award, there was no cask strength available that year. Why? Say what you like. I think it was because of the amount of stock that was still out there in the market of the 2022 and 2023. Demand had slowed down so much that there wasn't a need to flood the market with another release in 2024. So a 21-year-old came out at a very highly inflated prices as well. And now we're in 2025 and we're back again. You think that you can go back out to the market and charge more money? It's tone deaf. It's too expensive. Look at the other cask strength products that's out there from other producers. Arran, Tomatin, Ardnahoe, countless others that are often offering cask strength versions of their core range product at much better prices. Now, I agree with you that you've got a 12-year-old age statement on that cask strength, and that is something a bit special. But it's not 90 quid special. You're not reading the room. You're not picking things up. That's too expensive. Put that out at 70 quid or less and make a success of it. Make everybody shout and rave and just love the thing. I don't understand. I've already touched. I feel like it's probably bad form for me to get back on Diageo's back again, but I remain nervous about the prices that's going to come out of Diageo special releases this year, because it's for years that they've seen their stock languishing. 2 years in a row that they've seen their stocks, even in airport boutiques and things, prices slashed with sale and discount stickers on Diageo special releases, and they seem to be blind to it, because the releases come out in 2024 almost not acknowledging that that had happened earlier in that year for the previous year's releases. However, in the last 18 months, 12 months, we've seen Diageo special releases with really, really deep discounts, sometimes more than half price. That can't be a good look, especially when it's things like Lagavulin 12-year-old, Cask Strength, Talisker, Oban, various others, Rose Isle. But it's happening. Whisky with Molly saying, rest in peace to Jamie Wire father, who passed today. Ben, I'm so sorry, I don't know. Jamie Wire's father. Okay. So Jamie Wire's potentially in, and he lost his dad today. Listen, my friend, my thoughts and my heart's with you. Anybody that's going through difficulty right now, I can relate more than you might imagine. I'll raise this wee glass. My thoughts are with you, sending love and strength. Ben, thank you. Cheers to Jamie. Final bottle tonight before we go into the quiz at the end, and I am going to try not to be Menno. My goodness, I love that man. But if I'd have found him on my holiday while I was playing the vPub quizzes at the end, I could have strung him up. 2 occasions, maybe 3 occasions, I got 9 out of 10, and I couldn't believe my luck. But there was always one, either the picture question or something, or the ass hat at the end. There was always something that tripped me up. So I've tried very hard to give you at least a fighting chance for the quiz at the end. I hope you'll stay and join with me for that. But I'm going to show you one last bottle that I was able to pick up. I'm not uncorking this tonight, but I'll find an excuse to uncork this at some point in the future. I want to talk about this in a very, very wide sense, and I want to be fair to this, but also want to kind of step back and say, wait, what? This is Coquerin. This is the latest Coquerin 16-year-old. There's a lot of things changed about this. Look at this tall round bottle to start with. It's not in the kind of dumpy Coquerin-shaped bottle that the 16-year-old has traditionally been in. And that's because of bottle stocks, fire at the distillery. Stocks aren't available, so they've gone back to a tall round, which I don't have a problem with at all. I quite like Coquerins in this bottle. No problem with it. But it's very, very dark, isn't it? A little bit more sherry this time around. Previously, they've done kind of 80-20, 20% sherry, 70-30, but this time it's 60-40, more sherry than usual. But my goodness, does it taste like it? It tastes very sherry forward. If you were to guess, you would be up at maybe 60-40, 70-30 in the opposite ratio. But this was approaching £80 this last release. Oh, we can't have any truck or complaint with this. It's Coquerin. It's going to sell out. Everybody's going to buy it anyway. It's going to not make it to the next release. It will disappear. We're not talking about Bunnahabhain 12 Cask Strength. We're not talking about Diageo special releases. But we are talking about a producer that's kind of sneakily creeping up in price. And while the product is still absolutely worth it, and I dearly love everything that comes out of Coquerin, we're watching. Don't get greedy. Keep it calm. Keep it steady. The model that's been working for you is going to continue to work. Don't think that we don't notice that you've just slapped on another fiver on another year on another release. There might be reasons for it. We understand. It doesn't really matter what I say. It's going to sell anyway. But we're not. We've been tenderized by all the other producers. It would be really sad if we saw a fiver slapped on every annual release of Coquerin 16. I only mention that because the 2020 release, I think the first one that came out, fantastic. Listen, I love Coquerin 16. Coquerin's regularly featured in my Of the Year awards, whether it's producer or specific expression. I love this stuff. Less so the heavily sherried stuff, but I still buy this because I love it so much. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm walking into the retailer and not noticing that it's another £5 dearer this year. Because we will continue to look at how it's priced against its peers. And we don't want to feel like there's opportunism from our favourite producer that's been a torchbearer for the entire industry for years. I don't know if you feel the same way if you picked it up or not. I'm sorry to speak like that about somebody that's so dear to all our hearts, specifically mine, but it's a real thing. Welcome back, Roy. You've been missed. Thanks for all you're doing. And Slancha says, Alistair McPhail, as he buys me a generous dram. Right back at you, big guy. Thank you so much to you. It's nice to have all of you back again. It's nice to be hanging here in the vPub with you. Graham Fraser is in. The Dark Side is here. Greg's Whisky Guide is still here. Helen's here. Meep is here as well. Daisy Leland is in. Fantastic. I'll get a chance to hang out with so much more of you at the end, because at the end, my pal from California, Bill Dull, is here as well too. Bill, big guy, I'm missing you. How are you doing? Nice to see you hanging out in here. Graham Fraser, of course. Derek McGrainer from Ireland. Fantastic, Derek. Good to see you. Jesse Fisher is here. Might be the first time I've welcomed you in, but Jesse's saying, sadly, Boona lost me a year ago or so when their 18 jumped from $120 to around $300 virtually overnight. There was a lot of people that jumped at scales like that, Jesse, and I feel your pain. It needs called out. Glengale Distillery produces the best whiskey on earth. Pricing will never be an issue for me. That's dangerous, Jimmy. I am happy for you to share your opinion like that in this chat, and it's wonderful that you've got the ability to make decisions like that. But I think it's my desire to often comment on when I notice things like that starting to happen. Listen, some places is going to have the latest Coquerin 16 at 75. Maybe your local retailer nearer you is going to charge a few pounds more, and that's where I'm getting the 79.50, the 80 from. It doesn't matter. It's their margins haven't changed. That's to do with the wholesale pricing. I'm pretty convinced of that. But Jimmy, we share the same love for Coquerin. Danny Hevington saying, I spotted it. I didn't buy because I've still got a backup, but I did spot it. Yeah. We've been tenderized. You know, we do follow. Whiskey's a very emotional thing, and we do tend to overspend at times. Once bitten and all of that. You know, it's kind of, we do, there's so much selection and choice out there that if the dynamics are misjudged or greedy or wrong, and I'm not saying that that's what's happening there, I think that the extra sherry casks and the latest Coquerin, maybe a bit more of expensive, of vatting, whatever it may be, there's lots of reasons it could be for it, but we notice that hike in price, and it's jarring when it comes from one of our favourites. I'll leave it at that for now. So there are some that are still not there yet, but generally speaking, I hope I've been able to touch upon enough super positive things that makes me excited about whiskey, even after 20 years of banging on about whiskey and loving whiskey and chasing whiskey. 8 years of the vPub, almost 8 years of the vPub, more than 8 years of the channel, and all of the things that brings. I sense now that we're in a position that if we look at it through our enthusiast eyes, our enthusiast perspective, and work together as a community like we always have through the peaks and the troughs and all of that, if we stick together doing that, we will continue to find where the best stuff is. And I think we are living in a different kind of golden era of whiskey right now. And the golden era of whiskey that we're in right now is one of choice. And it's fantastic. I've shared a couple of things with you tonight. I've shared some cheap things, fair things, well-presented things, high-quality things, exciting things, encouraging things. And I've shared a couple of things to keep an eye on, potentially. But the overall kind of finish, the taste on the palate after all is said and done, is hopefully one of positivity and optimism. Jimmy is saying, no one wants to pay and be disappointed, Aqvavitae, but I know Glengyle won't disappoint me. I hope that that's the case forevermore going forward, my friend. I really do. So there we have it. Listen, I've got lots of things to share with you and get you up to date with, but there's weeks and weeks and weeks ahead that stretch out up until the new year for us to do that. But there's lots of exciting things happening. There's lots of events and things like that happening. There's a lot of squeezed into tonight. I need to iron out a couple of things, and next week is going to be potentially an event-laden announcement type vPub. And I'll try and get as much of it out to you as I can. I'll prioritize it and get the salient stuff out to you first, but next week I'll be joined by my pal in the Irish Sea, Ralphie, for a wee session. And I think you can probably guess why Ralphie and I might be getting together at this time of year. But we'll chat about other things that's on our minds as well at the same time. It's been fantastic to sit with you again. It's actually felt a lot like I've not been away. And I mean that in the best possible way. Gene Kelly saying, let's hope that price gouging will end soon. Regardless, I won't let a few dollars get in the way of a good time. I think that things are going to come back to you a little bit as well. I hope so, Gene, at least. Danny Hebbington is celebrating being a barfly for 43 months. Thank you, my friend. He's saying, thought I'd better use it before the end of the month. He's getting his comment in. And Hellswood is saying, Aqvavitae Andy passed on the Kilkerran 16 from a Cadenhead for a Cadenhead single cask 18-year-old Ben Rinnes at £85. Better value and fabulous whiskey. So a couple of pounds more. Ben Rinnes 18-year-old. But what we need to remember, that single cask 18-year-old at 85 is going to be higher ABV. The 16-year-old Kilkerran is reduced to 46, of course. Peter is saying, session with Ralphie must be a rant challenge. Let me suggest to you that it's got something to do with Sugar Kitty's emoji that he's just dropped into the channel right now. And that is, of course, it's likely to be something to do with this year's 2025 Online Scotch Whisky Awards. More to follow next week. For those of you who would like to stay and join me for a sensible quiz at the end, I would welcome you to do so. The challenging quizzes from Menno over the past few weeks, I have tried to attenuate it a little bit. I may have succeeded and maybe not, but the idea behind it is to at least give you a fighting chance of getting a good score or a 10 out of 10, but at least kind of take something away, something fun, whatever it may be. But some of the questions from Menno, my goodness. Is it Menno? Is it the fact he's Belgian? Is it the fact he's just really good at being Lord Asshat? I don't know. But he did frustrate over the weeks. I love you, Menno. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for supporting everybody on the pop-up vPubs over the summer, buddy. All right. Danny Hebbington has just been super generous and sent 10 Aqvavitae gift memberships out. So 10 random watchers tonight have picked up an Aqvavitae Barfly membership. So you've got access to all those emojis and the wee barfly and things like that to colour up the chat. But more than anything, you're now part of the squad that keeps all of my content ad-free. Thank you for your support. Greg in Paris is saying, quite tired, but I'll stay for the quiz. Okay, me, myself, my glasses, and I. Greg, you're very, very welcome. I wish you the best of luck with it, buddy. Look forward to seeing you all again next week for those of you that step out now, but we're about to march into the very first vPub quiz at the end since the summer break. Well, there was a few others, but they were very Menno flavoured, weren't they? Good fun they were too, though. Good luck, everyone. The pass mark is 5 out of 10. It's always multiple choice. You're only playing against yourself. If you want to lean against the chat and the crowd, you absolutely can do that. It's nicer when you answer from your own brain. But you always need a wee bit of luck. Seb is saying, get the quiz over by midnight. It's past my bedtime. I'll do my best, my friend, but that's give me 5 minutes. It's very unlikely. Let's get into it, Seb. Glen Scotia has recently released a fully natural 12-year-old core range flagship bottle. Which of these Loch Lomond Group releases are also fully natural? So I did give some hints tonight, didn't I, James DeJulio? Okay. A, Loch Lomond Steam and Fire is fully natural. B, it's Glen Scotia Double Cask Rum Cask that's fully natural. Or C, it's Glen Scotia Victoriana that's fully natural. Oh, Andrew Piers is sweeping in and suggesting A, B, and C. Well, it's Alan Gray. Good to see you. Alan Peter Lee is in here as well. Alan is saying B, Gene Kelly is saying C, and James Morgan is saying A. So it's splitting everyone. Jimmy Legg has gone for a C. Lachlan has gone for C. Or it's all these answers are all over the place. Sugar Kitty has spotted the banana skin, so he's saying probably not all. Greg is saying, where is the banana skin there? None. ABC then? Doubt it's ABC, says Frank P. Head, so he's going for B. Bruce is saying B. Remember, this is question 1, so I'm not going to attempt to throw a banana skin in there for all of you on question 1. Am I? I would be called Menno all of a sudden. Banana skin rules out all 3, question mark, says Jamie Wire. You are in here, my friend. I'm thinking about you. Hey, that's really, really sad news to hear, buddy. I'm glad to have you in here tonight. I hope that there's some distraction and warmth in it for you. Michael C is saying he's going to switch to B, and Mike Molasses is saying, oh dear. Okay, let's put you out your misery. I can tell you that Loch Lomond Steam and Fire is naturally presented. It's unchill filtered, natural colour. Glen Scotia double cask, rum cask. Yes, I mentioned that earlier tonight. It's also natural. Glen Scotia Victoriana is natural, but the first ever batch, had colour in it. However, that's cruel, isn't it? Because if you interpret that question a different way, you would be based on the core range, the available bottles of Victoriana today. And in that case, Victoriana would also be a natural product. So let's not be unfair. And the first quiz at the end, back after the summer break, is absolutely right, just as Andy Pierce suggested, an A, B, and C. Question 2. Which of these companies can claim to be family-owned, even today in 2025? Family-owned company. A, Angus Dundee. B, John Duran's Sons. C, White and Mackay. Which of those can claim to be family-owned, even today in 2025? Rotten bananas, says Pete Ed Frank. Well, I don't see how it's rotten for you, big guy, because you managed. Everybody scores out of that one. Everybody gets a point. Nobody's going home tonight. Nobody's tuning in tonight or today or whenever you're picking this up and going home with a donut. Nobody's going home with nothing. Angus Dundee is family owned today. John Deere's is family owned today. Or White Mackay is family owned today. Pedro is guessing, but the rest of you seem pretty convinced. Dang it, not sure here, but I would say A, says Falsgraf. Nice to have you in class. I hope you're doing well. And I can tell you that you're absolutely right, my friend. Angus Dundee remains in 2025 a family-owned distillery. John Duran's Sons, owned by Bacardi, of course. White Mackay and Parador. Angus Dundee is still family-owned. Another Angus Dundee question coming up. In 2023, Angus Dundee announced what? What did Angus Dundee announce 2 years ago in 2023? A, they announced that they'd be building a distillery in India. B, that they'd buy a distillery on Islay. Or C, that they'd buy some Scottish land from an American singer-songwriter. What did Angus Dundee announce in 2023? That they're going to build a distillery in India? They're going to buy a distillery on Islay, or see that they're going to buy some Scottish land from an American singer-songwriter. Gene Kelly saying Angus heavy quiz. Don't worry about that. It's not going to endure, buddy. Don't worry about it. Greg is saying C with crows then. Oh. Pete Head is saying, wasn't that Dylan? Mike is saying Tom Jones owned Scottish land. Tom Jones is Welsh, Mike. Well, let's go on with the crowd, says Falsgraf. No theme to this quiz, Jimmy Legg. Spotted already. There is no theme to the quiz tonight, not as far as I'm aware, Jimmy, other than the fact it tends to focus on whiskey. But sometimes there is a theme to the quiz at the end. Usually for the patron-only lock-ins, I do a theme right. So that's what Jimmy's been looking out for. But no, you can relax tonight and just answer the questions individually. I can tell you that everybody, the majority of you that's answered C has spotted absolutely. They did start to build a distillery in China, not India. As far as I'm aware, Angus Dundee has no designs on Islay, but they did buy Altmore Estate from Bob Dylan in 2023. Question 4. The Lost Malt Mill Distillery from Islay was originally built for a very specific reason. What was it? What was the purpose for Malt Mill? A. Malt Mill had to try to copy Laphroaig exactly. B. To continue production during Lagavulin's refurbishment, but they kept it going. Or C. To make use of the suddenly available unpeated malt available via the modern flat-bottomed boats that were supplying and removing goods and stocks from Islay. How did a malt mill come about? To copy Laphroaig, to continue production during a refurbishment, but it just kept going, or to make use of the suddenly newly available unpeated malt from the flat-bottomed boats. Jimmy Leggett saying so very sly then. I'm not so sure. Glenn B is going with the crowd. It's nice of you to admit that, Glenn. Christian Jensen is here. Good to see you, Christian. Randy Rice is here. Good to welcome you, Randy. Tom Elmer is, of course, here. David is still in as well as Daisy at the end. Thank you both so much. Joe Smith is here. Fantastic, Joe. Good to see you. Tobias is here. Good to see you, Tobias. Andrei Bartiniev. Andrei, I've made an absolute backside of pronouncing your name, but I'm glad to have you here. Michael C is here too. Discordia, you were in very, very early tonight. It's wonderful to see your endurance. See you in here at the end. I'm going to miss so many of you that are playing along. It's great to have you. Eric is still in here at the end. Good to see you, Eric. Sugar Kitty. Ask Restless Peter, perhaps, says Graham Fraser. Wink, 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 wink. Absolutely. The Restless Peter Mackey. This is what it's all about. He lost his license to be able to sell Laphroaig, so he decided he wanted to try and make his own. And that's exactly the purpose for Malt Mill, to try to copy Laphroaig, which it failed. It didn't copy Laphroaig. It still made pretty fantastic malt, I'm sure. Love to try it one day. Not much chance. Question 5. Here is a distillery. Look very closely at this distillery. Try and pinpoint where and what this distillery is. It's taken from quite a distance away, this image. And I'm going to ask you, if you stopped by this distillery and visited, maybe not today, but in the past, you could have picked up a distillery exclusive and it would have been called what? A. Meg's Dram, B. Lizzie's Dram, or C. Kathy's Dram. If you stopped by this distillery, I'll give you a clue. It's in the Highlands. It's in Speyside, Highlands area, right on the border. But they had a distillery exclusive dram. Was it A. Meg's Dram, B. Lizzie's Dram, or C. Kathy's Dram? I think you would have to go to secondary to get a hold of it now. Worm tubs outside, double doig, says Sugar Kitty. The geek is ripping out you, Jeff. It's fantastic. Good eyes, good eyes. By doigs, he's obviously talking about those copper pagoda roofs, doigs ventilators. B, going with the flow, says Lachlan. B it is then, says Andrew. Stevie O is going for B as well. Good to have you in, Stevie. I hope you're keeping well, my friend. It's nice to have you in the vPub. Where's Roy in Norway's here? Saying B. Meep is still here playing along. If you recognise this photo, you've sat behind a lot of motorhomes. You nailed it. A9. Just desperately waiting for the next wee bit of Joe Carriageway and hoping it's a long enough stretch for you all to get past whatever it is that's blocking you. Absolutely. You've clocked this. This was, of course, Dilwhinnie. One of the highest distilleries in Scotland by altitude. You pass it, you see it at a distance there from the A9. It's almost unmissable. But if you stopped by, if you took a wee detour and stopped by, you would have been able to, in the past, pick up a Lizzie's dram. Question 6. What is the oldest age statement that it could currently, theoretically, be released from Isla's Ardnahoe distillery? So it's just a long-winded way of me saying, when was Ardnahoe founded? When did Ardnahoe start making spirit, right? But what is the oldest age statement that could currently be released from Isla's Ardnahoe? A, 6 years old. B, 7 years old. C, 8 years old. Theoretically, what's the oldest that it could be? Lots of 5 out of 5s. This is great stuff. You see, I'm not Menno. Let's go through the 5 out of 5s that we have that I can see so far. Ian Bruce, Kyle Taylor, Michael C, Glenn FC, that's Klaus. Oh no, he's a 3, Glenn. Oh, slipped up a wee bit. Jerry Miller's on a 5, as well as Bruno Martins, Whiskey with Molly, Ben, Mel, Mike Molasses, Gene Kelly, Seb K, Desi Vleeland, Hells Wid, Joe Smith, Bruce Bernard, Ted Brooks, Lachlan, Petehead, Danny Hebbington. This quiz is too easy. Falscraft, Jimmy Legg, Andy Pierce, Adrian, Tobias, Pedro, Randy, all on 5s. 1 or 2 people tripped up a wee bit so far. They're still in good shape for a good score. Jimmy Legg is saying A, and you're not Menno. Menno, you have a soul. Poor Menno. Okay, everyone seems to be leaning on A, with a couple leaning towards potentially a B, like Bruce and Greg. All B's changed to A's. Whiskey with Molly is demanding that everybody changes to A right now. You can decide to follow Ben if you like, but I can tell you that yes, come November it will become a 7-year-old, but right now we're in the realm of 6 years old. My Ardnahoe is 6 years old. I did share it with you earlier today. Question 7. If all plans for distillery builds on Islay still go ahead, what will have happened to the number of Islay malt distilleries since 2004? So let's imagine all the ones that are in kind of a state of work in progress, planning permission, all the serious projects that have been put forward. If they all go ahead, what will have happened to the distilleries on Islay since 2004? A, grown by 50%, B, grown by 100%, C, grown by 200%. What would have happened? A lot of these projects 2 or 3 years ago would have looked stick on, going to happen, right? Here, as we sit in 2005, we talk about the optimism of everything. We can't conflate markets and business dynamics with enjoyment of whiskey. They're different things. They are connected, of course, but they're different things. But here, as we sit in 2025, we have to be realistic. Not all of these things are going to go ahead, but theoretically, if they did, what would have happened? 50% growth, 100% growth, 200% growth. Greg is saying B indeed sounds relevant. Let's say B then. I am going to top up my wee Ardnahoe because I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I think this one will hopefully get snapped up. For those of you that enjoy a peaty whiskey, Steve-O, I can see you in here, buddy. This Ardnahoe is maybe not one for you. Well spotted, everyone. Of course, Islay, there was 7. There was somewhere in the order of 7. Kilhoman come along and made 8. Then, of course, Ardnahoe makes 9. Port Ellen makes 10. By the time you get Portentruan up and running, maybe get Breck and some of the others, there was a theory that if they all go ahead, we'll have 14 by 2030, let's say, which would have been a doubling. So B, 100% growth. If you answered B, give yourself a point. Question 8, according to the Scotch Whisky Research Institute. Wow, what a question. This is a Menno question. Which distillery is believed to use probably the softest production water of any malt distillery in Scotland? Suddenly want to forgive Menno, perhaps. A, Ardnamurchan. is believed to have the softest water of any malt distillery in Scotland, or B, Glenrothes is believed to, or C, Clynelish in the Northern Highlands? Which of those distilleries believed to have the softest production water of any malt distillery in Scotland? This, if you read your Malt Whisky Yearbook, which is the book I recommend for you to have and keep on your person if you love whiskey at all times. It's a fantastic book. Yes, it's a bit of an encyclopedia. It's a bit of a directory. It's a bit of a, but there's so much more to it than that. There's so much more depth and nuance and factoids, and it is the source of. I would go as far to say the majority of the quiz questions I share with you can be found in the Malt Whisky Yearbooks. So we're looking for a fact from the 2025 Malt Whisky Yearbook on Glenrothes that it has potentially the softest water of any malt distillery in Scotland. So if you answer B, that's what you're looking for. I'm sinking south, so B. So many saying B. So many of you going for B. I love it. We're in good shape for some 10 out of 10s tonight, and that's just the way it should be for the first vPub back, right? Okay, question 9. In terms of pure litres per of LPA, okay, it's litres of pure alcohol, LPA. Which of these sites produces the most liquid annually? In terms of pure litres per annum, or litres of pure alcohol per annum, which of these sites produces the most liquid annually? A, Loch Lomond in the Southern Highlands, B, Chineric in the Northern Highlands, or C, Macallan in Speyside? Here we go. Jimmy Legg is suggesting this is truly an asshat question, old school style. Eric Cunliffe is saying, I see. Whisky Yearbook says founded in 2017, but not distilling. I think he's talking about Ardnahoe. Yeah, November of 2018 for Ardnahoe. Lots of 8 out of 8. It's great to see. Let's see how you got on with this. Peter Lee is asking Jimmy if they've been there together. I might have had a summer break, but you haven't forgotten to look out for the banana skin. So there's something tricky about this question. The obvious thing here is Macallan's 15 million litres. Chineric is about 10, 11 million litres. Loch Lomond is about 5 million litres. But actually, if it's pure liquid we're measuring, Loch Lomond is up to and potentially in excess of 20 million litres because they have their malt distillery complex there with the straight neck, swan neck pot stills, the copper column still, but they also have a substantial grain distilling site on the same land. So on that site, Loch Lomond are by far the biggest, capable of producing up to in excess of 20 million litres per annum. That was the reason for the banana skin, because it's malt and grain we're speaking about in this scenario. That leads us to the asshat at the end. Let's see how the scores are doing. How many 9 out of 9s do we have? How many people are hanging on for a 10 out of 10 for the first vPub back? Whiskey with Molly Ben, Pedro Meneses, Gene Kelly, Ian Bruce, Pete Head, Randy Rice, Daisy, Seb K, Where's Royal Vermeer in Norway, Christian Jensen, Bruno Martins, David Larenko, Bruno and David together. Seb is in as well. They're all on a 9. I wonder if they're sitting together. Jerry Miller, Lachlan is on an 8. Unfortunately, so is Mel. But Falsgraf is on a 9, as is Tobias. Discordia, wow, lots and lots of 9s. Stevie O's on a 9 as well. Glenn B is admitting that you forgot about grain. That was the reason for the asshat, buddy. I'm sorry if that tripped you up. Sugar Kitty's on a 9, and it just jumps to the end. Okay, let's roll into the asshat at the end, and good luck, everyone. A lot of you are going to be celebrating a 10 out of 10. I just feel it. This is an achievable, I think, asshat. How many operational Scotch malt distilleries lie south of Loch Lee? How many distilleries are south of Loch Lee in Scotland? Scotch malt distilleries. Okay. A, about the same number as the years of operation at Dornoch Distillery. B, about the same number as the years of operation at Lag. Or C, about the same number as the years of operation at Port Ellen. Of course, when I talk about Port Ellen, I'm talking about years since reopening. So it's all about the same number as years. Years of operation at Dornoch, years of operation at Lag, years of operation at Port Ellen. Jimmy like has been sarcastic. Oh, great geography. James Morgan is in. Good to see you, James. I ponder this. Andrew is saying A, but he's got no idea at all. Andre is admitting to bye-bye 10. He was hoping for this. You need to answer something, Andre. Come on, good luck. Fernando. Talking to Mike Molasses. Randy Rice is going for A. I think the majority of you is going for A. That's it. Roll the die, says Tobias. A. Greg's Whiskey Guide is going with a crowd. Michael C is admitting that it's a crowd-funded answer. Michael, this is the secret of the pub. Quiz at the end. That's okay to do that. There are some people going with a B, Lachlan, Christian, a couple others. I can tell you if this helps. Years of operation at Dornoch Distillery is 9. Years of operation at Lag is 6. Years of operation at Port Ellen, since it was reopening, between 1 and 2 years. 1 or 2. Don't know if that's going to change the mind of anyone, but I can tell you that there are 9 distilleries south of Loch Lee. I hope that would be pretty obvious once you had the answers there. I was going to try and do it from memory, but I'll just read straight off the map. It's a wee bonus at the end of the Malt Whisky Yearbook, but I'll tell you that those distilleries are south of Loch Lee. We've got Ailsa Bay, we've got Bladnoch, we've got Annandale, we've got Moffat and the Borders, so that's 5. But then we go over to Arran and we've got Lag that lies south. And then we go further across to Campbelltown down at the end of the peninsula. We've got Kilkerran, Glen Scotia and Springbank, all south of Loch Lee, just by a nudge. So there you go, 9 distilleries south of Loch Lee. So for those of you that answered A, you've got your 10 out of 10. Let's see who's celebrating the 10 out of 10s tonight. Quite a few of you. Look at this. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I'm looking for the icons. Randy Rice celebrating a 10. Discordia, 10. Andre, a 10. See, no need for the pessimism, Andre. You made it. Bruno's got a 10. Daisy's got a 10. Jean Kelly's got a 10. Where's Roy in Norway's got a 10? But I did it. Falscraft is saying 10. P-Head's on a 10. Fantastic. Ted Brooks, woohoo, on a 10. Ian Bruce on a 10. Look, see, Menno. I've managed to get enough of you excited, hopefully, about the quiz at the end. Ted Brooks, fantastic, buddy. Sugar Kitty celebrating a 10. Stevie O, Seb K with help from the crowd. No problem, Seb. Well done. Tobias, 10. Look at all the 10s. Whiskey with Molly, Ben, Graham Fraser, Few, 10. Fantastic. Did I make it too easy? Has it been a little bit too easy for you? I've been a little bit soft on you. Did I feel a wee bit sorry for you? Like I felt sorry for myself after I was a wee bit brutalised by Menno, Lord Asshat himself. Is this camera been okay tonight? I hope it has. I've not been really paying much attention to it. I've enjoyed jumping up back behind the bar. I hope you'll join me again next week where we get to have a to and fro, a bit of a rant and a bit of a kind of question and answer session with Ralphie as we talk about and launch the 5th online Scotch Whisky Awards 2025 session. I'm looking forward to it. There's a hell of a lot of work to be done, but the effort starts now. If you're a patron of mine, you're going to get bombarded with stuff over the weeks ahead, but I guarantee you all of it is super exciting. It's about events, it's about bottle releases, it's about stuff that I'm coming up with, it's about topics, it's about everything. I'm looking forward to the whiskey season ahead. I'm looking forward to embracing the fact that whiskey is coming back to us. Seb K saying, hitting the sack. Good night, Aqvavitae. Thank you, Seb, for joining us. Peter is saying, with that, I call it a day and going to hit the sack. That's just like last year, as always, for organised. Thanks, just like last year, as always, for organised. I struggled to get that out, Frank. I'm so sorry. And to all of you, see you next time. Hellsworth is saying, fab to have you back. Thanks for a fun vPub, Roy. Danny Heberton is saying, first day back, mate, Aqvavitae, it's allowed to be a bit easier. I agree. Adrian H is saying, cheers for another great night, Roy. Thank you for being here, Adrian. Whiskey with Molly saying, thanks, Roy. Great to see you back. Jimmy is saying, I loved every second of the 66 months. Thank you. Thank you for 66 months, Jimmy. Lachlan is saying, thanks, Roy. Have a good evening or night, folks. Graham Fraser is saying, thanks, Roy. Good night, Barflies. Bruno Martins is saying, good evening, Barflies. Look forward to next week. Eric Cunliffe is saying, thanks, buddy. So good to be back. Gene Kelly is saying, fantastic start to the next season on the vPub. So pumped for the whiskey season ahead. Me too, Gene. Michael C is saying, thank you, Roy, for the way you host and inform us. It's great to see you again. Michael, thank you for your kind words. Amazing vPub as always. Aqvavitae, thank you for another amazing Thursday, says Pedro. Thank you, Pedro. Mike Molasses is saying, good night, Barflies. Great to have you back, Roy. It's great to have you here with me, Mike. It means so much. Sean Causer is saying, what a buzz tonight has been. Loved it. Thank you, Sean, so much. Falsgraph saying, that was a great start, Aqvavitae. Looking forward to the new vPub season. Tobias, thank you for tonight. Good night, everyone. And Daisy is saying, thanks, Roy, for a fab vPub. Felt like coming home. Good night, everyone. See you next week. Thank you. And Tommy Elmer in Alaska, just like going back to school, new kids, a new kids, a new lunchbox. Thank you so much. Thank you. Making it easy for me. Making it exciting for me. Thank you for your support over the recycled reviews over the summer. If you've not caught those, you can go back and pick those up. Can't wait to come back and hang out with you again and Ralphie next week. But more than anything, I'm looking forward to generating and making and sharing content on the kind of nice way to refer to it as the whiskey season in the months ahead, when there's so much variety, so much choice, and so much whiskey that is genuinely, I hope that I'm proved correct on this. My optimism has tripped me up in the past, but I feel like it's genuinely coming back to us in so many measurable ways. I hope you feel the same. Until I see you and welcome you all back here again next week, I'll raise this glass and remind you all that you're very dearly loved. Thank you for hanging out with me on another Thursday night's vPub. Until next week, thank you and slanjava. Cheers, everyone. Still here. How'd that happen? Rusty.